The story begins with a man drowning, his body sinking steadily beneath the surface as consciousness fades. In those final moments, his mind does not cling to treasured memories or painful regrets. There is only emptiness. His thoughts unravel until even his own name becomes difficult to grasp. Water fills his lungs, strength leaves his body, and everything dissolves into darkness. Darkness stretches on, silent and absolute, until a faint glimmer appears. His awareness latches onto it, and suddenly his existence is pulled forward as if bound to an unseen thread. Space and distance lose all meaning. Entire worlds rush past him in a blur, and his soul is violently forced into one life after another. He is born into countless bodies, again and again, sometimes only for an instant. Each vessel rejects him. Each time, he is torn free and hurled onward once more. He becomes a wandering soul, endlessly searching for a body that can hold him. Over and over, he is reborn, only to be expelled. Time ceases to have meaning in this cycle. Then, without warning, the relentless motion stops. Somewhere in the forest, wounded man kneels on one knee, amid the scattered corpses of fallen monsters. Grim proof of a battle that has already ended in failure. His body shakes with exhaustion and pain, frustration simmering over the prey that slipped away. Driven by desperation, he reaches for the gourd at his side and drinks. The moment the liquid is swallowed, something changes. After draining the gourd, his legs give out, and he stumbles to the ground. Only then does the truth strike him. The liquid was poison. Disbelief washes over him as his thoughts scatter, unable to accept how abruptly everything has gone wrong. His strength drains away, breath turning shallow, and before he can even grasp the betrayal of it all, his body goes still, surrendering to death. But before death can fully claim him, a wandering soul drifts in and takes its place. At last, he has found a body capable of containing him. Awareness sharpens. He feels the weight of flesh and bone, the solidity of a fully grown man. Belief crashes over him so intensely that it turns into laughter, raw and uncontrolled. He is alive, truly alive. The realization is almost unbearable in its intensity. Fragments of memory rise to the surface. A name returns first. Noah. That was his name. Along with it comes scattered impressions of Earth, distant stars, and a restless impatience for something he can no longer clearly recall. The memories are disordered and incomplete, but they confirm one thing. He has been waiting for a very long time. For what? He does not yet know. Fusion quickly follows. He does not know where he is or who he has become. The vile taste lingering in his mouth raises immediate alarm, and it becomes obvious that the body's previous owner drank poison. As his thoughts settle, fragments of the man's memories surface just enough to give him a name. The body belonged to a magus named Vermil. Nearby lies a note expressing gratitude to Magus Vermil, accompanied by what was meant to be a healing potion. Noah recognizes the truth immediately. Whatever that potion was, it killed Vermil rather than saving him. This man had enemies, and at least one of them was clever enough to disguise murder as aid. Noah pushes the thought aside for later. Surviving the present matters more. He studies his surroundings. The forest is unlike anything he remembers from Earth. Strange, monkey-like creatures lie scattered across the ground, their forms unfamiliar and unlike any real animals he remembers. They are too small to have caused the massive wound in Vermil's chest, which suggests something far more dangerous had passed through recently. Noah hopes that whatever it was has already left. That hope is shattered almost immediately. A massive monster lurks among the branches above, its distorted form crouched in the tree. As thick saliva drips from its jaws onto him below, shock roots him in place, his mind struggling to process what he is seeing. Without warning, the creature launches itself downward. It crashes into the ground in front of him, the impact shaking the forest floor. As it rises to its full height and lifts a clawed hand in a blatant display of menace. A thunderous roar tears from its throat, aimed straight at protagonist. And in the next instant, it surges forward, beginning its attack. Instinct takes over. Noah runs, his breath coming in panicked bursts as the creature gives chase. Fear grips him, followed by bitter self-loathing. He has just come back to life, only to flee like a coward toward another meaningless death. He refuses to accept that. His escape route ends, and he finds himself cornered. Noah turns to face the monster. Just as the monster is about to land its attack, his hands rise on instinct, and something deep within him answers. Wind gathers, spiraling around his palm before erupting in a violent burst. Force slams into the creature. He stumbles backward as the realization crashes over him all at once. He has just used magic. Thought barely finishes forming before the monster lashes out. Pain tears through him as claws slice into his body. His vision fractures, and once again, life slips away. His soul is torn free and rises upward, leaving the corpse behind. The absurdity of it all almost makes him laugh. Finding a body that could hold him, only to lose it within moments, feels like a cruel record of failure. Drifting as a soul once more, he reflects bitterly that this life was no different from the last. Then something stirs in his memory. He remembers what came after his previous death. Instead of oblivion, there had been waiting. He recalls standing in a long, endless line that stretched beyond comprehension. He had always believed something awaited people after death, but he never imagined it would involve standing in line for what felt like eternity. With nothing else to do, he had been left alone with his thoughts. Time passed strangely there. He reflected on his life, which, by his own judgment, had been painfully ordinary. He never married. He never had children. He never grew old. All he had to show for his existence was a degree and a certificate bearing the name Noah Vines. Yet even in that quiet regret, there were things he cherished. He loved teaching music. There were moments in that life he never wanted to forget. Still, fate had been cruel. The very job he loved forced his fellow teachers to give up their sick days to keep him employed. In the end, none of it mattered. Years passed in the line, then hundreds, then thousands. He lost count entirely. His only action was to step forward whenever the line moved, climbing endless stairs in unbroken monotony. As he continues to climb, a blinding light engulfs his vision. At last, he reached the front. He thought fate itself awaited him. When he saw the goddess floating before him, there he found himself within a vast and majestic temple, water flowing endlessly into a sacred well. A goddess awaited him, embodying the force that governed what came next. She spoke his name and told him the details of his death at 26. She told him that his life had meaning, that 84 students were influenced by him, and that many prayers had been offered in his name. Relief washed over him. His life had not been a complete waste. On the contrary, the goddess said, his life had been well lived. Noah then asked if she was a god. The goddess introduced herself as Renewal, one of many goddesses of reincarnation. She instructed him to drink from the well, surrender his memories, and continue on to his next life. Panic surged at the thought of losing everything he remembered, especially his students and the moments that defined him. Before he could decide, the sky itself cracked. The afterlife began to fracture as violent ruptures tore through the heavens, spreading like shattered glass across the sky. A deafening explosion ripped through the temple, and from the openings poured black flames that streaked downward like falling stars. They slammed into the sacred structure, and destruction followed in waves, stone and light collapsing under the impact. Noah looked up in confusion, trying to understand what was happening. Before he could make sense of it, a blast erupted near him. The force sent him flying, and he crashed hard against the ground. Lying there, shaken, Noah wondered if something like this could even happen in the afterlife. And if so, who could be responsible? The answer came swiftly. From within the crack, a figure emerged. Out of the spreading ruins stepped a massive black god, wreathed in darkness and wielding a golden spear. With twisted affection, he addressed Renewal, and attacked her without the slightest hesitation. Renewal raised her hand to meet the attack. Renewal defended herself, and at her command a flower blossomed into being, its petals unfurling and hardening into a radiant shield. The black god lifted his golden spear, brought it down with overwhelming force. The shield shattered on impact, unable to withstand the power behind the blow. Renewal was thrown backward, wounded, and golden blood spilled from her onto the waters of the well below. Watching from a distance, Noah wondered what it truly meant to be killed in the afterlife, and quickly decided he never wanted to learn the answer firsthand. As the world around them began to crumble, the danger of staying became undeniable. He turned and ran, heading straight for the well, dread tightening his chest at the thought of dying yet again, even in a place beyond life. Behind him, the black god mocked Renewal, asking if that was all she could manage. Renewal answered by steadying herself, her presence sharpening as she taunted him in return, telling him to try harder if he wanted her to take the fight seriously. She launched a counterattack. The black god slipped past it with ease, and swung his spear in a brutal arc. Renewal met the strike head-on, turning the momentum against him. She retaliated, severing his arm, which fell into the well, its blood mixing with the sacred waters. Noah understood then that the well was his only escape. There was no time left to hesitate. Fear of losing his memories was overwhelmed by rage and frustration built up over a lifetime of waiting. The black god roared in fury as blood poured from his severed arm, streaming down into the water below and mingling with the goddess's golden blood. As Noah continued to run, a bitter realization took hold of him. He spent his life waiting for his life to truly begin, waiting for things to get better, waiting in an endless line that never seemed to move. He was done waiting. The clash of divine power tore through the collapsing temple. Noah was caught in the shockwave and thrown into the well. Water swallowed him whole, and he began to drift downward into the depths. As he sank, unconscious and helpless, he swallowed the water, now tainted with the mingled blood of the two gods. For a brief moment, he wondered if this meant returning to the line. Instead, his soul was hurled back into the forest. He drifted upward, hovering above the same lifeless body he had inhabited before. Doubt crept in as his thoughts spiraled, and he failed to notice the dark force rushing toward him. Lost in his own mind, he found himself thinking that eternal death might be preferable to endless waiting. Then something coiled around his neck and seized him. A dark power wrapped itself around his soul and dragged him downward. He was forced back into the body. Breath returned in a violent gasp, pain exploding through his chest as air flooded his lungs. Against all reason, he was alive once more. Confusion overwhelmed him as he struggled to make sense of what had just occurred. After returning to life, the cycle of death begins again almost immediately. Two creatures tear into him at once. Fangs sink into his flesh, claws rip through muscle, and he dies. His arm is severed, his body is cut open. Then he returns. Again and again, the same forest, the same pain. Dozens of deaths turn into hundreds. Everything blurs together until the act of dying becomes routine. Each time his soul drifts away, only to be dragged back moments later, always awakening beside the same gourd where Vermeil had fallen. The pain never lessens. Every wound burns just as sharply as the first. Blood spills, bones break, flesh is torn apart. Yet as unbearable as it is, Noah accepts it. Anything is better than returning to that endless line, better than standing in silence for eternity with nothing but regret and waiting. At some point amid the chaos, he manages to reclaim Vermeil's belongings. The gourd, the scattered items, what little the magus carried on him. One thing never comes back, his magic. He can still sense it inside himself, dormant and unreachable, lurking at the edges of his fogged mind. But no matter how he reaches for it, it refuses to respond. Still, death brings something else. Experience. With every resurrection, Noah learns. He begins to notice patterns. The monkey-like monsters always attack in the same ways. The same lunges, the same timing, the same tells in their movements. He studies them while dying, memorizing the way their muscles tense before they leap, the way their eyes glow just before they strike, the way their claws swing in predictable arcs. He is not stronger. He is not faster. His body remains injured and exhausted, but he refuses to waste these lives. After millennia of waiting, patience has run out. A monster lands in front of him again. Noah does not panic. He watches. When it lunges, he dodges. When it slashes, he weaves past the attack. He moves through its assault with growing precision, slipping through gaps he never would have noticed before. For the first time, he smiles. It does not matter how many times he dies. He only needs to kill it once. He strikes back, driving his fist into the creature's body and staggering it. This is no longer a struggle of strength. It is a contest of endurance, and he has infinite retries. As the fight comes to an end, something passes overhead. Two hooded men ride through the sky atop flying swords. Below them, Noah, still wounded, bloodied, and desperate, shouts for help. One of the men looks down in disbelief at the sight of a battered magus fighting monsters in the forest. When they descend, Noah asks for help, saying he is lost. As he looks at them, he wonders if they are riding flying swords. One of the men asks what happened to him, and Noah hesitates, realizing how dangerous the situation truly is. He cannot tell the truth. He does not know what Vermeil was doing here, who his enemies were, or why someone tried to poison him. So he lies. He claims he is injured, claims memory loss, and says that all he remembers is his name. When doubt flickers across their faces, he produces Vermeil's nameplate. That, at least, cannot lie. The yellow-haired man recognizes the name. Vermeil teaches at Arbitage. The word teacher catches Noah off guard, but he leans into the excuse, reinforcing the story of lost memories. The men discuss the monsters, dismissing the idea of a far more dangerous creature, concluding it was likely one of the lesser ones growing stronger. That detail unsettles them. If monsters are powerful enough to ambush teachers, something is wrong. The yellow-haired man offers Noah a ride back to Arbitage. He introduces himself as Frederick and instructs Noah to stand on the back of his board. Nervous but desperate, Noah does as told, clinging tightly as they rise into the sky. Below them, the forest fades away. Ahead, a massive walled city comes into view beneath a clear sky. A river runs before it, crossed by a bridge, with mountains standing behind it like sentinels. Frederick watches Noah carefully, thinking that if Vermeil truly is a professor, then many people will recognize him. That also means the one who tried to kill him could be someone close. As they descend toward the city, Noah understands one thing clearly. He is no safer here than he was in the forest. He no longer knows who his enemies are. They pass over buildings and towers before landing in front of the academy. Arbitage City, home to one of the greatest runic academies on the continent. The realization settles in quickly. Despite the danger, this place could be perfect. There is no better place to hide, learn magic, and understand this world than an academy devoted to it. All he has to do is maintain the lie of amnesia and avoid attention. Frederick reassures him and takes his leave, promising to inform the headmaster of Vermeil's return. Before Noah can rest, another man approaches, green-haired, sharp-eyed, and immediately suspicious. He comments on Vermeil's return with a tone that makes Noah bristle, though he cannot say why. When questioned, Noah repeats the story of memory loss. The green-haired man asks if he truly does not know who he is. Noah, still posing as Vermeil, asks if he is a doctor. The man dismisses the reply as a ridiculous trivialization, then introduces himself as Richard, a specialist in healing runes. Richard activates his rune and examines Noah from the inside. That grips Noah. If this reveals that Vermeil is gone, everything ends here. Richard pauses, then dismisses Frederick's concern. Noah is human. Nothing else unusual, at least on the surface. Still, Richard finds his condition odd. His mind is jumbled, but not broken. Rest, he says, should help. Time will tell if recovery is possible. As Richard steps away, Noah cannot shake the feeling that the man knows more than he is saying. Given how openly hostile he seems toward Vermeil, Noah wonders if this healer could even be the one who poisoned him. Richard thanks Frederick and sends him off, then offers to inform the headmaster. He asks Noah if he remembers where his room is. When Noah does not, Richard sighs and leads the way himself. They stop at a door marked with Vermeil's name. There's no key in sight. Without hesitation, Richard overrides the lock using runes and opens the door. The room beyond is a disaster. Papers blanket the floor. Books are piled haphazardly. Nothing is organized. Richard advises Noah to remain inside and promises to send someone to check on him before leaving. As the door closes, Richard casts one final look back, thoughtful and unreadable. Alone, Noah takes in the mess. He feels certain Richard knows more than he admits. Shaking off the unease, he begins searching the room, and quickly finds the key sitting plainly on the table. He wonders why Vermeil ever bothered locking the door if he left the key behind. Sitting down, Noah begins sorting through the clutter. From the documents, one truth becomes unavoidable. He is a teacher again. He finds notes addressed to students, and quickly realizes the kind of man Vermeil was. A particular note makes his stomach drop, revealing behavior that explains why someone might have wanted Vermeil dead. The realization disgusts him. On top of that, Vermeil was a magic instructor. Class schedules, lesson plans, runic notes. All of it piles up around him. Frustration surges. How is he supposed to teach magic when he cannot even use it himself? Before he can dwell on it further, a heavy knock rattles the door. A massive armored man steps inside, introducing himself as Braden. He heard Vermeil was back and immediately asks what happened. Noah repeats the story of memory loss, bracing for suspicion. Instead, Braden accepts it with irritation rather than hostility, scolding Vermeil for recklessness. Braden mentions the Linwicks, clearly powerful figures whose reputation Vermeil reflects. Explains that Vermeil has a class in an hour and offers to arrange a substitute and further examination if the injury is severe. The suggestion sends alarm through Noah. The last thing he wants is more people digging through his mind. Refuses the offer, insisting he can handle himself. Just a little memory loss. Braden tells him where the class is and warns him not to be late. If his students fail, it will reflect badly on the Linwicks. With that, Braden leaves, trusting that Vermeil understands what that means. Left alone again, Noah slumps into the chair. On the floor lies a single paper, mentioning that a face stealer group has been spotted in the area. Far away, back in the forest, the aftermath of violence remains. Creatures lie dead among the trees. A naked, wounded human body is dragged through the dirt by an unseen force, slipping deeper into the darkness. Whatever killed Vermeil is still out there. Building G stands apart from the rest of the academy, a neglected structure wrapped in creeping vines, its isolation immediately apparent. Noah, still wearing Vermeil's name, racing through Armitage's campus toward his first class. As he runs through its dim hallways, light spilling in through tall windows, frustration builds. He is late, badly so, and the campus layout feels deliberately confusing. He worries his students may already have left, knowing that if he fails to arrive within the first 15 minutes, there will be no class to salvage. He skids to a halt at a doorway, staring in disbelief. The building looks abandoned, as though no one has taught there in years. Inside, the classroom is in ruins. Chairs are broken, tables overturned, and debris is scattered across the floor. He cannot help wondering why his assigned classroom is so far from everything else, hidden away in a forgotten corner of the academy. Breathing heavily, he realizes he has not passed a single student or teacher on his way here. He begins scanning the wreckage, hoping to find something, anything, useful. Before he can investigate further, footsteps echo from outside. Someone is approaching. A young woman with white hair enters, an orb of light floating calmly beside her hand. She looks up and freezes in surprise at the sight of him. Noah awkwardly explains that he is there to teach class. Another student soon joins her, and upon seeing Noah, the young man is visibly shocked. He admits he has never once seen Vermeil actually show up to teach. Noah's disbelief is internal and immediate. These are his students. He had expected children, not people nearly his own age. As the two students whisper among themselves, they note that class started 40 minutes ago, and assume he believed he would have the room to himself, as usual. Noah clears his throat and forces himself to stay calm. He reminds himself that he has won over people before. Plastering on a confident smile, he announces that they will have an amazing class. The attempt is met with suspicion rather than enthusiasm. He smiled awkwardly and said nothing, insisting only that he was there to teach. The students exchange looks, remarking that he seems different today and is acting strangely. He tells them to excuse his strangeness, explaining that he took a blow to the head and is suffering from minor memory loss, and says he will begin the class since no one else is coming. The truth becomes clear soon enough. There is no rest of the class. Only two students remain, Todd and Isabel, the only ones unfortunate enough to still be assigned to him. Noah sets his bag down and accepts the situation. Two students are better than none. He asks them to take their seats. They do so reluctantly, immediately questioning the idea that he is actually going to teach them. They point out that they are the same rank as him. The mention of rank catches Noah off guard, but he hides his confusion. Todd bluntly states that Noah only has his position because of the Linwick name. The name appears again, reinforcing Noah's growing suspicion that Vermeil's family holds significant power. The students propose an arrangement. They had a good thing going. If Noah gives them a free pass on the exam, they will stay out of his way and leave things as they were. Noah refuses. He admits he may not be particularly talented, but suggests that experience itself can be a form of knowledge. Whether they like it or not, he is teaching them for the remainder of the class. The mood turns openly hostile. Todd mocks him, bringing up rumors of Vermeil seducing a student and questioning how the academy ever allowed him to keep teaching. Isabel adds to the accusation, making it clear that Vermeil's reputation is well known. Noah snaps. He silences them and asserts his authority. They do not have to like him, but they will treat him with respect. Internally, he agrees with their resentment. From what he has seen, Vermeil truly was a creep. He turns to the board and begins that he announces the topic of the day, runes. The board nearly collapses as he taps it, forcing him to pause and recover. He asks a simple question. What are runes? Students stare at him in disbelief. They answer with what they believe is obvious. A rune holds energy and allows magic to be cast. Everyone knows that. Noah writes their answer on the board and immediately dismantles it. He explains that they have described what a rune does, not what it is. The distinction catches them off guard. His expression sharpens. The seriousness in his eyes makes them uneasy. Isabel hesitates, unsure what he means. Internally, Noah is thrilled. They took the bait. He presses the point. A tool cannot be properly used unless it is understood at its most fundamental level. He admits, privately, that he does not know what a rune truly is either. but he knows that almost no one bothers to question the basics. When Isabel admits she does not really know, Noah moves on. He asks a broader question. What can magic do? Isabel answers dismissively that magic can do anything. Noah immediately challenges that assumption, asking whether there are truly no limits. Todd and Isabel correct themselves. Only one rune can be used at a time. Magic cannot bring people back to life. Noah's excitement spikes. Limits exist. He writes their answers down, explaining that understanding begins with recognizing boundaries. In his mind, he acknowledges the irony. Magic absolutely can bring back the dead. He is living proof of that, but he keeps that realization to himself. Todd adds that nobody truly knows what runes really are, questioning whether Noah could possibly claim that he does. Still lost in thought, Noah continues, saying that runes remain an active subject of research, that anyone who claims complete understanding is either lying or delusional. He takes out a book and copies a rune symbol from it onto the board. Reaction is immediate. Both students freeze in shock. They ask if that rune is his. Noah hesitates, then answers carefully. It is a rune. The implication sinks in. He drew it, freely, in front of them. Realizing his mistake, Noah internally panics. He should not have done that. Todd stands, astonished, asking if Noah is really letting them see it, for free. Noah sighs and recovers by leaning into the role of a teacher. The purpose of teaching is to inform students. That is all. He reminds himself to be careful with his next questions. He asks them what the rune is. Todd identifies it as a rank 1 lesser fire rune. Another surprise. Runes have ranks. Noah presses further, asking what makes it lesser. Todd answers enthusiastically, explaining everything. As he casually snaps his fingers, sparks flaring into a small flame. He continues by saying that lesser runes cannot hold as much magic and have poorer control than greater runes, and that greater runes are simply stronger. Still, Todd demonstrates that lesser does not mean weak. He raises his hands and tells them to check its firepower, sending the flames surging through the broken ceiling, streaking into the sky before bursting apart like fireworks. Noah barely manages to maintain composure. The display is far more destructive than he expected. He praises Todd while internally reeling at the sheer power involved. Using the moment, he asks again what a rune truly is. Silence follows. He explains that realizing one's ignorance is the first step toward understanding, but it does not mean giving up. He encourages speculation. What else can runes do? Why do they exist? Todd suggests that runes can be combined and used to imbue items. His uncertainty is obvious, and Noah pushes him gently, telling him he will get used to being questioned. He sets the chalk down and assigns them a task. They are to think about what makes up a rune and bring an answer to the next class. For now, he moves on. He asks what he considers the most important question yet. Isabel, he asks, how does she access her runes? She explains that she imagines sinking into her soul. She is not fully confident. Noah challenges her to look again, to truly examine what happens at the end of that process. He tells them he will do the same. Both students close their eyes and concentrate. Noah follows, turning his focus inward. He searches for magic, for runes, for anything familiar. He reminds himself that he has spent a long time as a soul. If anyone should be able to find this, it is him. Something responds. A shimmer appears. He opens his inner perception and sees runes hovering around him. 7 in total. 5 green, 2 white. They are instantly familiar. He recognizes them from the book. He counts them carefully. 5 wind runes, 2 ash runes. Todd had mentioned combining runes earlier. The idea resonates with Noah, reminding him of combining musical notes into chords. Possibilities branch endlessly in his mind. As he tries to manipulate the runes, something goes wrong. Agony explodes through his body. His heartbeat spikes. He clutches his head, drenched in sweat, barely able to stand as pain overwhelms him. Then something new appears. Noah turns toward it in shock. An 8th rune. The moment he sees it, a single image fills his mind. The black god from the afterlife, the being who shattered Renewal's domain. A few hours after class, Noah finds himself alone again in Vermel's office. The room is quiet, heavy with scattered papers and unanswered questions. He steadies his breathing and forces himself to focus. He pictures the rune, the flow of magic, and the sensation he felt earlier in class when his runes responded to his will. Standing at the center of the room, he raises his arm and concentrates. Energy gathers in his palm, faint at first, then spiraling into a clear current of wind. The rune responds. Magic forms cleanly, visibly, and for the first time since arriving at Arbitage, he feels genuine relief. His runes are working again. The success makes him smile, but the moment does not last. His body trembles as the energy drains away, leaving him lightheaded. His knees buckle, and he drops to the floor, breath unsteady. The reminder is immediate and unforgiving. All energy, even magic, has limits. He is still weak, still untrained, and still dangerously ignorant of how this world truly works. After recovering, he leaves the office and steps out into the city. Sunlight spills over stone streets and clustered buildings, the daily rhythm of life unfolding around a central fountain. Above it all, a massive stone statue watches over the city. As Noah walks, he becomes keenly aware of the attention he draws. People whisper as he passes. Eyes linger. Some glare openly. He keeps his head down and quickens his pace, hoping that if he looks busy enough, no one will stop him. Based on the hostility in their expressions, he realizes he should be less worried about conversation and more worried about someone taking a swing at him. His thoughts drift back to the note he found earlier, the mention of face stealers, and the realization that someone already tried to kill Vermeil once. There is no guarantee they will not try again. He climbs the stairs to the library and pulls open one of its massive doors. The interior leaves him momentarily stunned. The space is grand and meticulously maintained, far more impressive than his ruined classroom. Tall shelves stretch upward, filled with countless volumes. Quiet authority hangs in the air. He cannot help wondering why a place like this exists while his classroom has been left to rot. Near the counter, a sign catches his attention. Professors only. That is exactly what he needs. He briefly wonders if the privilege comes with free coffee, approaches the librarian, and asks for help finding books. He keeps his request deliberately vague, asking for something basic, introductory, and focused on runes. Before the librarian can respond fully, a woman passes by and stops short. Her glare is sharp and unmistakably hostile. She openly questions what Vermeil is doing there, making it clear she finds the situation absurd. She remarks that the Linwick family must have fallen far if this is what he has been reduced to. Noah turns, trying to place her, but he has no memories to draw from. She continues, mocking him for seeking such basic material when his family's resources should be more than sufficient. Noah responds smoothly, claiming that using Linwick resources for something so mundane would be wasteful. He adds that everything he needs is already here. The answer gives her pause. She blinks, surprised, and notes that it is a fresh take coming from him. Still, she does not soften. She insults him again, though she acknowledges that even he should know better than to keep banging his head against a wall. She openly states that she is not surprised he is looking for introductory books. It reminds him that being a rank 1 professor is pathetic. Then she raises her hand. Energy gathers at her fingertip, and before Noah can react, the force strikes him squarely in the chest. He is thrown backward, crashing to the floor. He sneers, suggesting he will simply find a new way to indulge in his old habits, making her disdain unmistakable. Noah scrambles upright, stunned and aching. The realization settles heavily. Vermeil truly was despised, deeply, thoroughly. No wonder everyone hates him. Noah has no idea how he is supposed to respond to accusations like that, especially when they may be entirely deserved. The woman dismisses him with a final insult and walks away. She leaves. Noah catches the title of a book nearby, a compendium on face stealers. He learns her name in passing, Moxie. He rubs his chest and exhales slowly. She clearly hates him, and more importantly, she has an interest in the same face stealers mentioned in Vermeil's notes. For a brief moment, Noah wonders. She could be the one who poisoned Vermeil. The thought lingers, unresolved. He turns back to the librarian and asks again about the books. Later, back in his office, Noah shuts the door behind him and exhales. He knows he needs to learn more, especially about how his runes function. His thoughts drift upward to the image of the massive purple rune hovering behind him earlier. That rune is not normal. He is certain of it. Drawing attention to it would be foolish, perhaps deadly. Turns his attention to Vermeil's existing runes, 5 wind runes and 2 ash runes. He cannot ignore the disparity. Vermeil belonged to a semi-powerful family, yet his runes are mostly lesser ones. It does not add up. Either Vermeil squandered his potential, or he deliberately chose these runes for shallow reasons. Noah focuses inward and examines the runes more carefully. Even among the wind runes, there are differences. One feels emptier than the others. Slowly, a realization forms. Each rune feels like a container, an individual power source. The more energy it holds, the stronger it becomes. Recalls the sensation he felt back in the forest after finally killing one of the monsters. The runes had changed then. Killing monsters does not just grant experience and skill, but increases the capacity and energy of the rune itself. The ash runes, though nearly empty, feel denser, more powerful than the almost full wind runes. The implication is clear. Lesser runes are permanently limited. Smaller containers, no matter how much energy they hold. If he wants to grow stronger, he will eventually need to replace them. That realization gives him direction. Strength will come from better runes, fuller runes, and learning how to combine them. For the first time since arriving in this world, he has a goal that goes beyond simply staying alive. He senses that one of his wind runes has refilled enough to be usable again. He looks at the mess piled in the corner of the room and decides to experiment. Raising his hand, he channels wind magic, swings his arm in a sharp motion. A blade of compressed air slices forward. The result makes him grin. The stack of papers is cleanly cut in half. He deactivates the rune, acknowledges that he understands wind magic, at least at a basic level. With enough mastery, flying may even be possible. The ash rune, however, remains unresponsive. He cannot feel it at all when he tries to channel it. For now, he sets it aside. An idea strikes him. If he can control wind this well, cleaning the office should be simple. He uses the magic to push papers into a corner, sending them fluttering through the air. The result is sloppy but functional. Good enough. He can now feel the rune draining as he uses it, which confirms his theory. The system is becoming clearer. Satisfied, he decides it is time for the next phase of his plan. He yawns, takes a warm bath, and lets the tension drain from his body. For the first time since his arrival, he allows himself to relax. Afterward, he checks Vermel's closet. The wardrobe is unimpressive but consistent, which somehow fits the man's overall character. Wrapped in a towel, brushing his teeth, he hears a knock at the door. He freezes. The knock grows louder. He considers staying silent, hoping the visitor will assume he is asleep. Pounding only intensifies. Panic grips him. What if it is whoever poisoned Vermel, coming back to finish the job? A horrifying thought follows. Did he even lock the door? The door bursts open. A long-haired figure steps inside. Noah dives behind the table, heart racing, convinced he is about to die. The intruder steps forward and slips. Papers scatter as the figure crashes to the floor with a heavy thud. Noah peers out cautiously. The person lies motionless. He creeps closer, checks her neck for a pulse. There is none. His blood runs cold. Panic overwhelms him. If someone finds her like this, they will think he killed her. His thoughts spiral as sweat pours down his face. Heavy footsteps thunder outside the room. Moxie storms in, sword already raised, her expression frozen in shock at the scene before her. Noah turns toward her, hands raised, desperation plain on his face, insisting that this is not what it looks like. Moxie stands there, staring, unable to process what she is seeing as the situation spirals toward disaster. Moxie steps fully into the room, her presence sharp and commanding, while Noah remains kneeling on the floor beside the motionless body. Panic still grips him. He admits openly that she has every reason to hate him and desperately insists that she must believe he did not do what it appears he did. Moxie studies him in silence, her eyes moving between Noah and the body. Then, without warning, she lowers her sword. The weapon disperses as if it never existed. She states, calmly and with unmistakable certainty, that he killed it. The realization seems to amuse her. She looks impressed. Noah freezes. He bows instinctively, still begging, still insisting that he did nothing, that the intruder fell on her own. The meaning of her words catches up to him. His eyes widen as he repeats the word she used. It. Confusion replaces panic. Moxie kneels beside the corpse and examines it closely, unimpressed by Noah's confusion. She mocks the situation lightly, as if the absurdity of it all amuses her. Noah's thoughts spiral as he tries to make sense of what is happening. Nothing aligns with his understanding of events. Moxie rises and comments again on how surprising it is that Noah of all people managed to kill the creature. She asks if he has been training. Her casual tone only deepens his confusion. She acts as if the situation is resolved, ordinary even, while Noah is still reeling. He finally asks her to explain what happened and who the person on the floor actually is. Moxie retrieves a bottle, opens it, responds with clear irritation, calling him an idiot. Noah, clinging to any explanation, plays along and admits that may be true. She tells him plainly what the corpse is. A face stealer. The words hit Noah hard. He stares at the body again, struggling to reconcile what he sees with what she is saying. He asks what a face stealer is, his confusion almost comical. Moxie snaps at him, asking if he ignored the warnings that were sent out. Noah remembers, belatedly, the papers he shoved into the corner of his room. Awkwardly, he admits as much. Moxie pours herself a drink and asks how he even knew how to kill it if he did not realize what it was. Noah explains, weakly, that it slipped and killed itself. She drinks and declares him a lucky idiot. She settles in as if the room belongs to her. Noah asks whether a face stealer steals someone's body. She confirms it does, though she dismisses the victim as someone insignificant, likely a maid. Noah asks if there was any chance the woman could have survived. Moxie answers flatly that she was already dead. Face stealers can only take over dead bodies. Implication chills Noah. He realizes he must be careful about leaving bodies behind. Moxie wonders aloud why a face stealer would sprint directly to his room, noting that they are usually attracted to magic. No one practices magic in their room because of the risk of destruction. Noah realizes his mistake immediately. Moxie then makes a request. She wants the incident kept between them. If it becomes known that a face stealer slipped past her only to be killed by him, she would never hear the end of it. Noah agrees, but adds a condition. Not for free. Moxie's disgust is immediate. Noah panics, clarifying that he does not mean anything inappropriate. He simply wants answers. His memory loss has left gaps he needs filled. He acknowledges that the phrase sounded far worse than intended, especially given Vermel's reputation. After a moment, Moxie relents. He has 10 minutes. Noah begins with the most pressing question. Why are there monsters inside the school? Shouldn't it be safe? Moxie explains that Arbitage is safer than most places, but not safe. Stealers are a newer threat, but far from the worst they have faced. Monsters desire runes just as much as humans do. Noah clarifies that she means the energy gained from killing them. She confirms it. The power stored in runes flows both ways. Otherwise, the system would not make sense. Noah wonders aloud if that means humans can take runes directly from monsters. Moxie says that is only possible if the monster possesses a master rune. She demonstrates something else instead. She tosses a handful of seeds onto the floor. They sprout instantly, thick vines bursting forth and wrapping around the corpse. Noah watches in shock as Moxie asks how he could not know this. And Noah shyly replies that his memory is fuzzy. The body turns green and is completely absorbed, the vines shrinking back. As some return to Moxie's hand, the face stealer fully consumed by her magic. The display leaves Noah stunned. The ability is overwhelming, and he cannot help wondering what else she is capable of. Moxie remarks that if she did not know better, she might think he was a face stealer himself, though even they are smarter than this. She asks for his next question. Noah brings up master runes. He admits he does not fully understand what qualifies as one, but mentions the massive rune within his soul, the one that feels entirely different from the others. He asks if there are any monsters nearby that possess master runes. Moxie moves to a bookshelf, answers while resting her hand on one of the volumes. She hopes not. The strongest monsters with master runes could level Arbitage. The closest known threat is the Hell Reaver, a rank 2 monster bordering on rank 3, and it has a master rune. Even that one would crush him effortlessly. Noah moves on to his next question. Why do none of the books mention making new runes? Moxie scoffs. If the Linwicks have figured out how to do that, she wants to know. She reminds him that all his research should be in his grimoire, though she insults its worth. The mention of a grimoire catches Noah's attention. He makes a mental note to examine Vermel's belongings more carefully. He asks if studying a drawn rune is not enough. Moxie explains with a simple analogy. A drawing without power is just a drawing. Runes store power, but they require power to store power in the first place. The explanation clicks. Noah compares it to jump-starting a car or investing startup capital. Moxie agrees. Forming a rune inside one's soul requires both the rune's energy and its design. That is why rune knowledge is kept secret. Rune combinations are guarded even more closely, because knowing which runes can be combined without destroying one's soul is immensely valuable. He asks one final question. Who dislikes him? Moxie answers that it would be easier to list the people who like him. Noah accepts this grimly. He promises to keep the face stealer incident secret. Declaring their debt settled, they shake hands. Moxie remarks that she expected him to ask about handling class exams next month. Noah dismisses the concern casually, though internally he adds it to the ever-growing list of things he must research. Before leaving, Moxie reminds him not to mention the face stealer to anyone. She glares at him one last time, warns him not to find out what happens when she gets angry. After she leaves, Noah moves on to his next objective. He arrives at what he had overheard professors referring to as magical public transit. What he finds is a transport cannon. The idea is nothing like what he imagined. Still, he reminds himself that he will not grow stronger by waiting. He climbs past floor after floor, already sweating by the time he reaches the top. Exhaustion irritates him deeply. He mutters that he could have gone the rest of his life without standing in another line. At the top, he finds the cannon and its operator. The man greets him cheerfully and asks where he wants to go, prompting Noah to wonder if this is really a safe way to travel. Noah requests transport to the scorched acres. The operator reacts with surprise, asking what keeps drawing him out there. Teaching, perhaps, or something else. The operator notes that using the cannon is a good choice this time. He had warned Noah before. The cannon guarantees return in 24 hours. Ignoring that warning last month cost him a concussion. This time, it cost Vermil his life. The question lingers. What was Vermil really doing out there? Noah hesitates, questioning the safety of the device. The operator assures him confidently, claiming he has never had an issue, then pushes Noah inside with a friendly insistence, eager to keep things moving with a long line waiting behind. The door slams shut and locks. He tells Noah to squeeze in as he activates the machine. The structure begins to rumble. Lightning courses through it as panic flares, Noah shouting that this does not feel safe and begging to be let out, while the operator shouts back that he always enjoys this part. Noah exhales shakily. If this kills him, he will come back anyway. He briefly wonders if he should have brought his gourd. A moment later, the cannon fires. Noah is launched into the sky like a blazing projectile, hurled toward the scorched acres as the operator shouts him off with cheerful enthusiasm. Night settles over the Linwick estates beneath a sky crowded with stars. The estate stands silent and imposing, its domed structures watched over by a winged stone gargoyle, perched along the edge like a tireless sentinel. Below, water pours endlessly from a sculpted fountain, where two rearing stone horses frame the flow, the steady sound echoing through the otherwise still courtyard. Inside, a tall man wrapped in a dark cloak stands before a bookshelf, calmly reading. The quiet is broken by the approach of another presence. An armored figure carrying an enormous sword crosses the rug behind him. Without turning, the older man addresses him. The younger answers, their exchange making it clear they are father and son. Brayden reports that he has done as requested. The father listens while flipping through the pages of his book, then asks for the result. Brayden explains that Vermil was acting oddly. Father closes the book at that, remarking that such behavior is an improvement over Vermil's usual self, though still displeasing. He suggests that perhaps Vermil is nearing the end of his task. The father doubts it, but the father is unconcerned. Vermil, he says, will serve his purpose regardless. In life and in death, or from the estate, Noah is hurled through the sky. Blue light engulfs him as the transport cannon flings his body forward without mercy. He screams as the force drags him along, his form reduced to a streak plunging toward a dead, ash-covered land known as the Scorched Acres. The fall continues inside a swirling sphere of energy, his face contorted with pain as tears are ripped away by the speed. Then, without warning, the motion stops. Confusion hits just before the sphere collapses, dropping him hard onto the ground. He smacks face first into the dirt and groans, pushing himself up while wiping blood from his nose. He is alive. Annoyed and sore, he mutters bitterly about safety and looks around. Land is exactly as he remembers it. Burnt trees, gray soil, and lifeless silence stretching in every direction. He steadies himself and exhales. Pain is temporary. The cannon will pull him back in 24 hours. That knowledge alone gives him confidence. Memories of the monsters he once fought here rise in his mind, and with them, determination. By the time he is done, these creatures will learn to fear him. He plans carefully. The area is largely deserted, especially deeper into the forest. It is the perfect place to train without interruption. But before anything else, he needs to prepare. He leaps onto a tree and clings awkwardly to the trunk, hauling himself upward branch by branch until he settles on a sturdy limb. Embarrassment flickers through him at how clumsy the effort was, but there is no one around to see it. From there, he pulls out Vermil's grimoire. He opens it slowly, studying the pages filled with rune inscriptions. Vermil amassed an impressive collection. Nearly 100 runes are recorded inside. Noah flips through them one by one, evaluating each with growing certainty. A flame rune is dismissed as too basic. A plant rune reminds him of the succulent his students once gave him, which he barely survived dealing with. Shadow feels needlessly theatrical. Water, light, electricity, metal, none of them feel right. He needs something different, something that lets him apply knowledge from Earth. He was not an engineer or a chemist. He cannot recreate weapons or formulas. But he was a music teacher. The realization hits him hard. Music. Searches the grimoire again, more urgently this time, until he finds it, the vibration rune. Vermil had dismissed it too quickly. Noah understands its potential immediately. Powerful enough vibrations. One could cause tremors, earthquakes, destructive resonance. The idea excites him. This is his angle. Turning inward, he examines the runes floating within his soul. He considers which to replace. The ash runes are clearly his strongest, but he still cannot use them at all. Reluctantly, he focuses on one of the wind runes. He reaches out and touches it. Carefully, he follows the process outlined in the grimoire. He begins breaking the rune down, fragment by fragment, till it shatters completely. The remnants fall as glowing dust, gathering beneath his hand. This is the most dangerous part. He steadies himself and reshapes the dust according to the pattern he memorized. The energy spirals in his palm, changing color as it reforms. Sweat rolls down his face. Then it stabilizes. A new rune forms before him. He has done it. He has created a rune. Dropping from the tree, he examines the result. The rune holds almost no energy, meaning it is useless in combat for now. He will still have to rely on his wind runes until he can fill it. That means hunting. He smiles. It is time to find some monkeys and get a little revenge. Not far away, a monkey-like monster crouches over the corpse of one of its own kind, chewing mindlessly. Noah appears behind it and calls out. The creature turns, still gnawing, just in time for a blade of compressed wind to slice cleanly through its neck. The body collapses. Energy flows from the dead monster into Noah's runes, but the amount is disappointing. Barely a trickle. Still, he is unconcerned. He hopes the species is not endangered, because he intends to kill many more. He climbs another tree and scans the area for his next target. In the distance, he spots a familiar group, smaller monkeys clustered near a much larger one. His chest tightens as he recognizes the type. This is the same kind that killed him before. He sets his gourd aside on the branches and drops down. Hiding behind a tree, he watches them carefully. The way they move suggests coordination, maybe even communication. The thought unsettles him, but only briefly. The memory of being torn apart resurfaces. He decides he is done hesitating. Without warning, he launches a wind slash. Two smaller creatures die instantly, heads severed before they can react. Only the large one remains. Noah steps out from cover, addressing it with grim satisfaction. He unleashes more wind slashes, but the monster charges forward, dodging with alarming agility. Noah realizes too late how difficult it is to aim at a moving target. The creature retaliates, claws flashing. Noah barely avoids the strike and tumbles to the ground. The massive monster looms over him, raising both arms. Noah's eyes widen as recognition sets in. He has seen this attack before. He knows what comes next. He raises his hand and fires a wind slash, confident that he can predict its movements. He believes he can win. He misjudges the timing and is killed by the monster, his soul rising as his body falls. Knowing the outcome but lacking speed, he realizes the only answer is more training as his corpse lies defenseless below. Watching from above, Noah can only beg silently, horrified, hoping it will not eat his face before he returns. 12 hours after his death in the scorched acres, Noah returns. The first thing he feels is the familiar splitting headache that always follows revival. It throbs behind his eyes, heavy and oppressive, and he already knows what it means. As long as that pain lingers, his magic is unusable. Through repeated deaths, he has learned the pattern. The headache lasts about 12 hours. Once it fades, his runes respond again. The knowledge is oddly reassuring. It gives structure to something that once felt chaotic. He stretches his arms, steadies his breathing, and fixes his eyes on the creature ahead of him. Determination replaces hesitation. He is ready to try again. As he approaches, the monkey-like monster notices him, lets out a shrill cry. Before lunging forward, Noah does not panic. He watches carefully, recalling every movement from before. He knows what comes first, a grab from the sides. Creature slashes. Noah ducks beneath the attack, already anticipating what follows. The overhead strike. Just as predicted, the claws come down. Noah steps aside, gathering wind into his left hand as he moves. The monster never gets the chance to complete its attack. A blade of compressed air slices through its neck. Head tumbles free while the body remains upright for a brief moment before collapsing. Noah exhales and allows himself a small, satisfied smile as he walks past the falling corpse. He cannot understand why they all fight the same way, but he is grateful for it. The predictability makes survival possible. Sometime later, blue light surrounds him once more as the transport cannon pulls him back. He reappears at Arbitage, stepping out in a torn and battered state. The operator greets him cheerfully, then freezes when he takes in Noah's condition. Shock flashes across his face as he asks if Noah is all right. Noah assures him that he is uninjured, explaining that he simply forgot how quickly the return would happen. The operator jokes that Noah must have gone through a lot of healing potions. Noah answers with an awkward expression, conceding the point in his own way. The operator laughs and tells him he is glad to see him alive. Noah thanks him and heads toward the exit, closing the door behind him. He makes a mental note to bring spare clothes next time. Later that day, Noah sits alone in his classroom, waiting. Class has already started, and no one has arrived yet. He sighs and wishes himself a happy second day. Eventually, his two students enter. He notes with mild amusement that they are earlier than last time, which he counts as progress. As they take their seats, Noah overhears their quiet exchange. One of them had bet that he would show up again, despite missing the previous class. The wager is settled on the spot. Noah quickly realizes what happened. Class was supposed to be yesterday. He missed it entirely by traveling to the Scorched Acres. Today is not technically a class day. The students explain that class meets every other day. They normally use the abandoned classroom as a place to relax since no one ever comes. They assume Noah would eventually return. Noah apologizes for interrupting their routine, then decides that since they are all present anyway, they might as well hold class to make up for the missed day. He adds that learning together is the best way to spend time. The mood shifts immediately. He clears his throat and asks about the homework he assigned. Todd admits he could not figure it out and gave up, choosing to eat instead. Isabel says she thought about it a little. When Noah presses for an answer, Isabel admits she does not know. To her, runes are just runes. She asks why he cannot simply tell them the answer. Noah shrugs and smiles, admitting that he does not know either. The admission stuns them. He explains again that if the answer were simple, it would already be known. Understanding is something they have to reach on their own. Isabel bristles, asking what the point was of making them think about something with no clear answer. Noah responds by pointing out that she answered her own question. The purpose was to make them think, and thinking is never a waste of time. He turns back to the board and moves on to the main topic for the day. He asks why having good runes is so important. They confirm that each person can only have 7 runes per level. Then he asks what happens when someone advances to the next rank. Todd explains that all 7 runes are combined into a single, stronger one, or at least attempted. Success allows a person to absorb or combine more runes of that rank. That is how broad runes like fire or wind evolve into specialized ones. Isabel adds the danger. If the combination fails, the runes can shatter, crippling the person until the damage to their soul is repaired, which can take years. They explain that this is why working rune combinations are guarded so closely. Intent matters when combining runes. The more clearly someone understands what they are doing, the higher the chance of success. The explanation clicks for Noah. It makes sense. His thoughts briefly turn to Vermil's family and the collection of rune knowledge they likely possess. Still, he decides that contacting them would not be wise. 30 minutes later, Noah concludes the lesson. He summarizes what they have established so far. Runes function like buckets. Energy fills them like water. Lesser runes are smaller buckets than greater ones. When all 7 buckets are full, it can be merged into a single, better bucket. He asks if that is everything there is to runes. Students hesitate, thinking deeply. Satisfied, Noah tells them they do not need to answer that yet. The discussion has been productive, and he does not want to overwhelm them. He ends class for the day, promising to continue the discussion next time. The students exchange looks. Isabel comments on how different he is, asking how hard he must have hit his head. Todd agrees, noting that Noah is nothing like he used to be. Noah replies that it hardly matters. In fact, he likes himself the way he is now. Todd admits that he does too. Noah almost seems respectable. Progress. As the students prepare to leave, Noah calls out one last question. He confirms that their next class is in 2 days. Isabel smiles and agrees, confirming the time and addressing him as professor. Noah waves them off, reminding them to be on time and prepared. He adds that he is not finished with either of them yet. Once they are gone, he touches his forehead and sighs. Exhaustion crashes over him as he leans against the wall while leaving the room. He wonders if the fatigue is another side effect of dying repeatedly. He cannot help wishing for answers from a familiar source. For now, he just needs a break. 2 days pass, and Noah finds himself alone in his office with a few hours to spare before class. He sits at his desk, rubbing his temples as a dull ache lingers behind his eyes. Even now, the after-effects of using magic refuse to fade easily. Every spell leaves him with pounding headaches, and the repetition only makes it worse. He cannot help wondering whether this pain is simply the cost of channeling magic, or something tied more deeply to his repeated deaths. As the thought crosses his mind, a sudden sense of being watched creeps up his spine. His shoulders tense. The memory of Vermil's murder resurfaces, and with it the knowledge that whoever killed him is still out there. His paranoia spikes. Sweat beads along his cheek as he whips his head around, half expecting an attack. The office is silent, unchanged. Noah stares at the empty space, confused. He could swear he saw a slashing motion, a presence just moments ago. Slowly, he turns back to his desk and buries his face in his hands. Perhaps it was only exhaustion. Lack of sleep. His body and mind have been pushed far too hard lately. There is nothing behind him. Shaking it off, he decides to focus on something productive. Yesterday's training in the scorched acres should have borne fruit by now. If nothing else, it should have strengthened his runes. He raises his hand, summoning the vibration rune above his palm. It manifests faintly, hovering with a subtle hum. He narrows his eyes, hoping it finally holds some energy. Carefully, he lowers his palm and taps the surface of his desk. The moment his hand makes contact, the table shudders violently. Papers slide, objects rattle, and the entire surface trembles as if struck by a shockwave. Noah's eyes widen in alarm. He hastily grabs whatever he can to keep things from falling and cuts the flow of magic. When the shaking stops, he exhales and lets out a crooked smile. He truly had not expected it to work so well. Curiosity takes over. He calls forth his runes again, this time forming the vibration rune in one hand and a wind rune in the other. He studies the sensation carefully. Both respond smoothly. Both behave as expected, which means the problem lies elsewhere. His gaze sharpens as a realization begins to form. Ash. The ash runes never respond the way he expects them to. Perhaps he has been approaching them incorrectly. He sets a tray on the table and places a sheet of paper, a candle, and a lighter on top. He lights the candle, then feeds the paper into the flame. He waits patiently as it burns, watching until nothing remains but fine gray ash scattered across the tray. Perfect. He waves his hand and reaches out with his senses, focusing not on creation, but control. The ash stirs. Slowly, it lifts from the tray, swirling upward as his rune activates. A faint ash rune forms in the air, drawing the particles toward it. Understanding hits him all at once. He cannot create ash, but he can control it. The realization fills him with excitement. Runes do not generate their element. They govern what already exists. The mistake was assuming otherwise. To test the limits, he directs the ash toward the burning candle. Particles rush forward in a soft rush, smothering the flame until it dies. The result is underwhelming. Noah stares at the extinguished candle, unimpressed. Even with control, ash is still ash. He leans back in his chair, thinking it through. Wind cuts because it carries force and speed. Ash lacks that unless fueled by far more energy. That must be why Vermil relied on multiple weak wind runes instead of cultivating stronger ones. It was easier to use what responded reliably than to struggle toward greater power. At least Noah only replaced one wind rune. Losing more would have left him defenseless. Turning inward, he enters his inner world once more. His runes drift around him in quiet orbits. His gaze lifts upward. Above them all hangs the massive purple rune. It dominates the space with overwhelming presence, radiating pressure and brilliance. Noah studies it cautiously. Whatever it is far beyond normal runes. Experimenting with it blindly would be foolish. And yet, drawn by curiosity, he drifts closer. Lightning flickers along the rune's surface as he approaches. Heart pounds. He hesitates, then reaches out. Just a touch. The moment his finger meets the rune, its light flares violently. The world around him fractures, and a vision floods his mind. He stands before the black god once more. The god sits upon a throne, spear resting in his grasp, his presence crushing and absolute. Before him stands a massive armored worm, its segmented body bound to towering pillars by thick, rune-etched chains that groan under its weight. The god slowly rises from his chair, calm and unhurried, as the creature fixes him with a glare of feral hostility. He walks forward toward the worm with effortless authority. With a violent surge, the worm strains against its restraints and lashes out, bladed limbs crashing down in a brutal attack. The god meets the assault head-on. swings his spear in a single, flawless horizontal arc. The strike cleaves through armor and flesh alike, splitting the monster cleanly in two. As the colossal body collapses, brilliant orbs drift upward from the remains, countless radiant runes filling the air with their glow. Noah watches in awe as one rune, bearing the mark of insectoid armor, flies into the god's palm. For a moment, Noah wonders if memorizing it would let him recreate it. Then the god destroys it. The rune shatters, fragments scattering like dust. Instead of vanishing, the remnants gather again. Under the god's control, the drifting orbs reshape into multiple new runes, each one distinct in form and glow, pulsing with contained power. He did not destroy the rune. He split it, breaking its essence apart rather than erasing it. The runes circle him in quiet orbit. He plucks one free and turns back to his throne. He sits. A colossal purple rune looms behind him, vast and unmoving, casting its presence over the chamber in silent judgment. The meaning becomes clear. The rune is called Sunder. It does not merely destroy. It splits. It breaks things down into their fundamental components. Monsters, runes, anything. The vision fades, and Noah finds himself back in the black space of his inner world, breathing hard. Understanding settles over him like a storm. He can split runes. Where combining runes is normally irreversible, this power allows the opposite. It lets him undo combinations, extract components, and experiment without permanent risk. Infinite testing, infinite refinement. The implications leave him shaken. Glance at the clock snaps him back to reality. Panic sets in immediately. He is late. He bolts from the office, deciding that meddling with Sunder any further right now would be suicidal. Just touching it nearly crushed him. He is nowhere near strong enough to wield it properly. Still, the realization lingers. If rune combinations are the key to unique magic, then Sunder is a master key. He stops short, turns back, and locks his office door. He has no desire to repeat the face stealer incident. By the time he reaches the classroom, his students are already there. They greet him bluntly, pointing out his lateness. Noah apologizes as he moves to the front, offering a flimsy excuse that earns him visible irritation. Todd, unfazed, eagerly asks about the lesson plan. His imagination runs wild with ideas about imbuement, rune combinations, and grand revelations. Noah shuts that down quickly. Nothing so dramatic today. Instead, he announces a field trip. The students are immediately skeptical when they arrive at the training grounds. Isabel questions his ability to train them when he admits he does not even have all the answers himself. Noah calmly explains that he will not be teaching directly this time. They will spar. Suspicion flares instantly. Isabel accuses him of avoiding real teaching. Todd counters her, taunting her about losing again. The exchange escalates into sharp words and rising tempers, exactly as Noah intended. As their argument heats up, he watches closely. This is not avoidance. It is observation. There is more to learn from action than theory, and today, the lesson will begin with conflict. In a neglected stone training ground bathed in sunlight, Todd and Isabel face each other in tense opposition, while Noah watches quietly from the sidelines. Both students wear identical badges on their chests. These shield badges are designed to create a protective barrier that absorbs a limited amount of magical damage, though these particular versions only function within the Academy's training grounds. Todd raises his fist, already confident, and taunts Isabel as heat gathers around his hand. Isabel answers with open contempt, mocking him and dismissing his threat as little more than the risk of another ruined meal. Todd responds by snapping his fingers, flame blooming instantly, and insults her in return. Isabel fires back just as sharply, telling him to save his bravado for when Vermil is not watching. Todd lifts his left hand, fire pooling in his palm, clearly eager to begin. As Noah watches, he notices the rings of flame forming around Todd's hand and realizes what he is doing. Todd is generating fire through circular constructs rather than directly shaping it, cleverly bypassing the usual elemental limitations of rune usage. Across the training ground, Isabel's chest glows with a cold blue light. From it, a blade of pure light forms as though she is drawing a sword from an unseen sheath. Noah stares in disbelief. The construct looks nothing like standard elemental magic. Plasma, perhaps, or something close to it. Even more confusing is the fact that neither student's runes are visibly manifesting. Todd launches forward, his fist engulfed in flame. Isabel meets him head-on, blocking the punch with her light blade. Red and blue light collide violently as their attacks clash. The force sends both of them sliding backward across the ground. Noah feels a surge of unease. They are not holding back. He worries they might seriously injure one another. Isabel wipes sweat from her forehead and criticizes Todd for relying entirely on raw power without precision. Noah thinks uneasily that encouraging this kind of fight might cost him his job. Todd answers by forming another attack, demanding to know if that looks precise enough. Isabel dodges the incoming fireballs cleanly, unimpressed. Todd pushes harder, launching another attack that forces her to block. This time, the impact knocks her sword free. Noah's excitement spikes. Without her weapon, the fight should be over. Instead, Isabel charges forward. Noah is stunned as he watches her leap toward Todd unarmed. Then, in mid-motion, another sword of light forms in her grasp. Todd barely has time to react. He jumps backward, panic flashing across his face. Isabel swings horizontally, exploiting the opening. Todd gathers his flames desperately, blocking with 2 fingers as her blade crashes into him. Shield badge flares to life, glowing gold as a barrier surrounds him. He grits his teeth as the shield absorbs the blow, but the strain is obvious. Cracks spread across the barrier until it shatters completely. Todd is thrown backward and hits the ground hard. Isabel steps forward and asks if he is going to call it a tie again. Todd groans, clearly defeated, and snaps that he hates her magic. He complains that she only won because of some unfair advantage, then cuts himself off in frustration. Isabel offers him a hand. Todd slaps it away, insisting he almost had her and pointing out that she dropped her sword earlier. Isabel snaps back that she dropped it on purpose. Todd refuses to believe her. Their argument escalates, voices overlapping as they bicker back and forth. Noah coughs loudly to get their attention. They ignore him. He tries again. This time, they snap at him simultaneously. Noah claps and forces a smile, praising their performance. He admits that the way they talk about his teaching made him think they could barely cast magic. Seeing this, he realizes he worried for nothing about their preparedness for the exam. The word exam immediately changes the mood. Todd hesitates, asking what Noah means. Isabel follows, demanding to know whether he truly intends to make them take it. Noah answers simply that he does not understand how they plan to pass without taking it at all. Isabel explodes in anger. She reminds him that they had a deal. He only started teaching them properly a week ago. Todd restrains her, insisting they will get what Noah asked for, just as they agreed at the beginning of the semester. Noah realizes with growing disgust that Vermil had planned to let them bribe their way through. Every new detail about the man makes him despise Vermil more. He tells them flatly that plans have changed. There will be no bribes. Isabel protests, furious. Todd panics, shouting that they will be killed. That word catches Noah's attention immediately. He asks them to remind him what the test actually involves. Todd looks at him in disbelief, stunned that he does not know. Isabel answers bluntly, they are required to kill a slasher. Noah's reaction is almost comical. To him, that hardly sounds like a problem. Isabel explodes again, unable to understand how he can dismiss it so easily. Noah explains calmly that if they fight the way they spar, they will have no trouble. Slashers are fast, but predictable. Isabel turns away, bitter, saying it is easy for him to say when he is not the one who has to do it. Todd adds that Noah probably had someone cheat for him just as he is trying to do for them. Noah tells them that he has killed a slasher before. Quite a lot of them, actually. Both turn to look at him. Todd answers with obvious disbelief, brushing it off, while Isabel scoffs, saying that the only way he would ever come face to face with a slasher is if his family had restrained it for him. Noah sighs. He misses having students who respect him. Still, he refuses to let them fail again, even if he was not the one who failed them before. He straightens and makes his decision clear. For the next few weeks, they will train. If, when the exam arrives, they still lack confidence, he will allow them to cheat. No bribes required. Todd looks like he is about to vomit. Isabel stares at Noah, then agrees. Todd protests, horrified, but Isabel shuts him down. They have no choice. If they ever want to get stronger, they have to stop cheating. Todd collapses to his knees, trembling. Noah notices her wording. She almost said kill again. Isabel warns him that he has until the exam to convince them. If he fails, they are out. Noah answers confidently, adding that they should not get too excited. He is still an awful professor. He agrees completely. Several hours later, Noah is back in the scorched acres. A slasher's body falls apart as he cuts it cleanly in half. He kills in a row. He wipes his hands and reflects on what he has learned. He can now use magic without visibly manifesting his runes. All it takes is imagining them clearly in his mind. He walks away from the corpse, lightly manipulating a small whirlwind at his fingertips, almost humming to himself. If he can kill slashers this easily now, Todd and Isabel truly have nothing to worry about. Once someone understands how slashers fight, they lose their ability to surprise. A thought crosses his mind. All the monsters fight in remarkably similar ways. He imagines a massive monkey general commanding troops of smaller ones, drilling them like soldiers. The idea amuses him. Then something hits him. The impact is sudden and overwhelming, like a projectile moving faster than sound. His head is destroyed instantly, and his body is pinned violently to a nearby tree. Massive, dark-furred monkey emerges from behind the trunk, its presence radiating menace. It examines the corpse briefly, then licks Noah's hand, before tearing into the flesh. Dark fog pours from the gourd lying beside the body as Noah's soul emerges once more. His soul fully forms, and agony tears through him. He clutches his head as cracks spread across his spiritual form. His eyes remain closed, confusion overwhelming him. He knows he is dead, but why does it still hurt? The pain does not fade. It intensifies, unnatural and terrifying, as the image of the monster burns itself into his fractured soul. Noah wakes to the sound of birds chirping outside his window. The noise drills straight into his skull. Groaning, he yanks the curtains shut, then buries himself under the blanket. But the sound refuses to fade. Each chirp feels sharper than the last, as if something inside his head is being hammered again and again. Sweat beads on his skin as he curls tighter, a growing dread settling in. The headache is worse than before, worse than any he remembers. As the pain intensifies, a frightening thought surfaces. Each time he dies, the pain seems to linger longer, to dig deeper. He wonders if he is pushing something too far, if there is a limit he has not yet reached. The idea unsettles him more than any monster ever has. Snapping, he throws the window open and shouts at the birds to be quiet. They scatter immediately, wings flapping as they flee. Sunlight floods the room, stabbing at his eyes and forcing him to recoil with a sharp groan. He stumbles into the bathroom, turning on the faucet and gripping the sink as he steadies himself. He mutters at his reflection, admitting to his own recklessness. He had gotten cocky. Predictable or not, the monsters of the scorched acres are still stronger than he is. Infinite chances do not mean infinite safety. He scoops water into his hands. His thoughts drift to Todd and Isabel. He can die as many times as it takes. They cannot. If they encounter a monster like the one that killed him, the one that hurled rocks with terrifying force, they will simply die. There will be no return for them. He splashes water onto his face, frustration spilling over. Runes, monsters, exams, keeping his students alive. It all crashes together in his head until it feels unbearable. When he looks up again, something makes him freeze. In the mirror, behind his reflection, he sees a slasher stepping into the room. His body reacts instantly. He spins and hurls a blade of wind toward the doorway. The attack slams into the frame, dust erupting outward, but there is nothing there. No monster, no movement, just an empty doorway. Silence follows. His breath comes uneven as realization sinks in. He laughs weakly, rubbing his face. He is not under attack. He is losing it. Constant fighting, constant dying. The human mind was never meant to endure this kind of repetition without breaking. With a tired sigh, he leaves the bathroom, pours himself a drink, downing it in one long swallow. Once seated, he tries to regain control by organizing his thoughts. He writes out a list. Cure his headache, fill and upgrade his runes. Train Todd and Isabel for the exam. Find out who wants him dead. Staring at the list, he can't help but notice how low the last item sits. Worrying about an assassin somehow feels less urgent than everything else. He shrugs it off, one problem at a time. He starts with the headache. The memory of his most recent death surfaces again, along with the unnatural pain that followed. He recalls the cracks he saw in his soul after dying. Slowly, a connection forms. The pain might not be physical at all. Turning inward, he enters his inner world. The space feels wrong. His runes float as usual, but the surroundings are fractured. Large cracks spread through his soul itself, jagged and deep. He stares at them in disbelief. There are holes in him, massive ones. He wonders how he failed to notice them before. Then he sees movement. The cracks are healing. Particles gather, slowly knitting the damage together. The process is painfully slow, but it is happening. Leaf washes over him. The damage is not permanent. It will heal on its own. Still, it will take weeks at this pace. Understanding settles in. This inner world is connected directly to his soul. Every death damages it. As long as he keeps dying to a minimum, he should be fine. Most of the damage likely came from his earliest days in the scorched acres, when he died over and over without restraint. If he had continued like that, the consequences could have been catastrophic. As he turns away, satisfied for the moment, he fails to notice a single red eye glowing faintly within one of the cracks, watching him. Returning to the space where his runes float, he crosses the first item off his list. The second looks promising as well. His vibration rune hums with strength, noticeably more powerful than before. He cannot yet tell how close it is to being fully charged, but progress is undeniable. He smiles faintly. This feels better than the endless grind of his old life on Earth. The first two items addressed, his attention turns to the third, training Todd and Isabel. He had already instructed them to spar and train for a week in preparation for the Scorched Acres. That gave him some breathing room, but things are not as simple as he hoped. The Chuckers, the monsters that killed him without warning, changed everything. He could not kill them. Worse, some of the times they killed him, he never even saw them. He recalls the layout of the Scorched Acres in his mind. The outer areas, where weaker monkey-like creatures roam. Deeper in, slashers. Deeper still, the Chuckers. And at the very center, an unknown zone he has yet to survive long enough to understand. Fortunately, Chuckers only appear deep within the area. As long as he trains his students near the outskirts, they should be safe. Each death taught him more about how the Chuckers fight, but each death also made his headaches worse. He could endure it. Todd and Isabel could not. 1 week later, with the exam looming, Noah returns to his classroom. He cannot afford to delay any longer. His students need him, and he refuses to fail them the way Vermeil did. He opens the door and offers a wry smile, asking if he is late again. Todd answers dryly that they expected nothing else. Isabel asks if he finally came to his senses and canceled. Noah leans against the doorframe and tells them no. Today is important. Todd asks the question that has clearly been bothering him. Why does Noah suddenly care so much? What changed? The question pulls Noah back into his previous life, to classrooms where he taught music, quiet conversations and one-on-one lessons, to the smiles he wore while believing in what he was doing. The memories shift to hospital rooms, to students crying as he lay helpless, unable to watch them succeed. He returns to the present and answers honestly, though simply. He smiles at them, even as they exchange confused looks. He cares because it is his job. With that, he tells them to follow him. They have places to be. They arrive at the transport cannon, where Noah greets the operator by name. He asks for the cannon to be set to the Scorched Acres. The operator greets him cheerfully and notices the two students in tow, joking about a field trip. Noah confirms it is training before the exam. Cannon is prepared. Noah tells Todd and Isabel to follow closely and not to hesitate. Todd looks visibly ill, groaning as he moves. Noah urges him along while Isabel threatens to stab him if he vomits on her. Todd mutters that they are all going to die. Isabel asks Noah how he talked them into this again. Noah jokingly answers for him, praising them for their passion for learning and self-improvement. Isabel cuts through the sarcasm and states the truth. He blackmailed them. Noah waves it off as semantics. He gives the final order to fire. The operator salutes enthusiastically and slams the activation button, sending them hurtling toward the Scorched Acres and the beginning of the real test. The three of them move carefully through the scorched landscape, ash crunching beneath their steps. Dead trees and blackened earth stretch in every direction, the air heavy with heat and silence. Noah suddenly raises his hand and points upward. High above them, a small monkey-like creature hangs from a branch, fast asleep. He turns to Isabel and reminds her of the confidence she showed earlier, the way she boasted about winning fights. This time, she will go first. Isabel groans in protest, but she knows there is no escaping it. Frustration tightens in her chest as she forces herself to act. If she backs down now, she will stay weak forever. Drawing in her breath, she summons her light sword, its glow forming steadily in her hand. She stares up at the sleeping creature, telling herself it is nothing more than a stupid monkey. She sets her stance, and Noah watches closely, wind gathering in his palm in preparation for the unexpected. He thinks she should be able to kill it easily. Then Isabel lunges upward, sword raised, striking toward the sleeping monkey. At the last moment, the monkey wakes. It jerks aside with surprising speed, Isabel's strike cutting through empty air. Creature screeches and counterattacks, its claws swinging toward her face. Before the blow can land, a blade of wind tears through the monkey's body. Blood sprays as the creature is cut down instantly. Isabel reflexively shields her face, stunned. The monkey collapses at her feet, lifeless. Noah lowers his hand, sweat visible on his brow. He praises her attempt, but calmly tells her that next time she needs to actually react to the monster's movements instead of freezing. Isabel snaps back angrily, pointing out that the monkey nearly killed her. Noah answers without raising his voice. The only reason it almost succeeded is because she did not believe in herself. If she had fought the way she did in the arena, she would have won easily. Todd joins in, bitterness creeping into his words. It is easy for Noah to say that. They cannot afford protective shields like students from rich families. They are not Linwicks. The word catches Noah's attention. Shields, like the ones used in the training grounds. He points to himself and asks if they truly believe he has some expensive shield protecting him. Isabel answers immediately that of course he does. He is a Linwick. Todd adds that he is a terrible one. Without warning, Noah starts stripping off his outer clothes. He asks them where the shield is. Then, he does not have one. Isabel turns away sharply, flustered, while Todd makes a crude remark. Noah ignores it and states plainly that he does not own a shield. Isabel stares at him in disbelief once he is dressed again. That only makes him seem even dumber in her eyes. Why would he come here without protection? He is only rank 1. What happens if a monkey attacks them? Noah answers calmly that attacking people is exactly what monkeys do. Todd shouts in panic that Noah could have at least survived with a shield. If they run into a slasher now, all of them will die. Noah smirks and asks if they assumed this was safe because he would protect them with a shield while they escaped. They both answer immediately, fear written all over their faces. Long, chilling howl echoes through the forest. Isabel trembles, asking if that sound belongs to a slasher. Todd looks on the verge of tears, convinced they are about to die. Noah, however, smiles. Perfect timing. He announces that it is time for their first real lesson in the field. A slasher emerges from between the trees, gripping a trunk so tightly that the wood crumbles beneath its hand. Noah steps forward, placing himself between the monster and his students. Wind gathers around his palm as he tells Todd and Isabel to watch closely. This will be on the exam. The slasher leaps, roaring as it charges. It swings in a wide slicing motion. Noah dodges smoothly, explaining as he moves that slashers, like everything else in the forest, only attack in a few predictable ways. He hops backward as the strike crashes into the ground. If you can predict them, he continues, you can beat them. Power gathers into his fist. With one swift motion, he drives it forward. The blow lands squarely. The slasher's head warps unnaturally as its body is hurled backward, collapsing in a spray of blood. Silence follows. Todd stares, unable to believe what he just witnessed. Isabel echoes the disbelief. Noah walks back toward them, confidence radiating from him, the slasher's corpse lying behind. He reminds them that he already told them. You do not need a shield if you do not get hit. They stand frozen, stunned into silence. Excitement erupts. Todd eagerly asks if he can go next. Isabel immediately refuses, insisting she needs to redeem herself. She will not be shown up by Vermil. Todd snaps back that it is already too late and takes his turn. A short while later, Todd snaps his fingers and flames bloom around him. Noah instructs him as he acts, explaining that instinct alone is not enough. For now, Noah is teaching them patterns. Todd fires, hitting a small monkey square in the chest. Noah continues speaking, telling them to learn how to read their opponents. Isabel closes her eyes, summoning her light sword once more. The glow forms cleanly this time. With a swift motion, she slices her target clean in half. Noah finishes his thought. If they learn this properly, they will never need to rely on shields as a crutch. Life is not a single attempt. Todd cheers, thrilled that he succeeded. Noah tells them to keep going. Repetition is the key to learning. Isabel excitedly describes how she dodged the monkey's claws, admitting that Noah was right. Todd agrees, saying he knew exactly what the creature was going to do before it acted. Noah pats both of them on the shoulders, smiling. If they keep this up, by the time they can afford shields, they will already be used to fighting without them. That advantage will matter, especially if everyone else keeps thinking the way they used to. Todd scratches his head and admits he will still spend what little money he has on healing potions, but he understands the point. Isabel jokes about whether that is what Noah spends his family's money on. Comment gives Noah pause. His family gives him things? A memory surfaces. Brayden was also a Linwick. The realization chills him. Could they be the ones who poisoned Vermil? Todd slaps Noah on the back hard enough to nearly knock him forward, laughing as he declares that of course Noah spends it that way. Only someone with a death wish would fight slashers without shields or potions. Noah answers quietly, his back turned to them. He does not have a death wish. He does not fear death. The words surprise them. Everyone fears death. Fear exists for a reason. Noah keeps walking, explaining that fear keeps people safe, but it also holds them back. If they always listen to it, they will never take risks. He does not fear death. He understands it. He uses it. Even as he thinks this, he recognizes the irony of lecturing others about death, given his circumstances. Todd suddenly stops and points into the distance, his voice tense. He asks what that is. Noah squints, confused at first. Then he sees it, and his blood runs cold. A chucker stands among the trees. They are nowhere near that deep into the forest. It should not be here. The chucker grins and lets out a shrill screech. Noah's demeanor changes instantly. Urgency floods his voice as he orders Todd and Isabel to leave immediately. They are to run back the way they came and not return, no matter what they hear. Isabel panics and asks what about him. Todd grabs her arm and pulls her away, fear clear in his eyes. They will only get in his way. The chucker bends and picks up a stone, rolling it in its hand as it advances. Noah realizes the truth too late. If he dies here, he will not have enough magic to kill this thing. He tells them not to worry, wind gathering around him as they retreat. He will be fine. But inside, he knows the truth. If he dies now, Todd and Isabel die too. Chucker hurls the stone. The projectile tears through the air like a bullet. Noah's eyes widen as he traces its path. It is not aimed at him. The stone hurtles straight toward his students. Noah moves without thinking. He sprints after them, throwing himself into the path of the attack. Todd and Isabel glance back, just in time to see him collide with the stone. It slams into his chest. Blood explodes outward as his body is flung violently backward, the impact echoing through the scorched forest while his students stare in horror at what he has done. Isabel looks back in horror just in time to see Noah's body slammed into a tree. Blood pours from his chest as the impact leaves him half-crumpled against the trunk. He coughs violently, a mouthful of blood spilling out as his breathing turns ragged. Isabel snaps out of Todd's grip, fury and panic overtaking her. She screams for him to let go and bolts toward Noah. Todd panics, shouting after her that she cannot do this, but she ignores him and rushes to Noah's side. She reaches him as he struggles to remain upright, one hand braced against the tree. His face is pale, strained, and his eyes burn with urgency rather than fear. He shouts her name, stopping her in her tracks. Tears well in her eyes as she freezes, torn between instinct and obedience. With effort, Noah forces himself to stand straighter. Anger sharpens his expression as he reminds her that he told them to run. Todd grabs Isabel again, dragging her away despite her resistance. And the two of them retreat, hearts pounding, doing exactly as they were ordered. Only once he is certain they are leaving does Noah turn fully toward the chucker. He reaches into his sleeve and takes out the gourd, placing it carefully on a nearby stone. He knows that when he revives, his magic may not be restored. That does not matter. He refuses to let that become the reason his students die. Wind begins to rise around him as he advances slowly toward the monster, blood soaking into his clothes. He vows that he will kill it, no matter how many deaths it takes. Chucker responds immediately, hurling a stone with terrifying speed. Noah raises his arms, gathering energy, and strikes downward. The stone splits cleanly in half midair. He exhales sharply, his vision dimming at the edges. He knows the truth. He may have many lives, but this one is his best chance to kill the chucker. Pain surges through his chest as he clutches the wound. Frustration floods his thoughts. He cannot get close to the creature, and his aim is not good enough to reliably strike it from this distance. The chucker bends again, lifting another rock, crushing it down to a size fit for throwing. As Noah watches, realization clicks into place. That is it. The chucker throws again. Noah dodges aside just in time, the projectile obliterating the tree behind him. Before the dust settles, he activates his vibration rune. The rune hums violently, power surging through his palm. He slams his hand into the ground. The earth fractures outward from the impact. Cracks spread rapidly as the ground begins to shake. A violent tremor rolls through the forest, strong enough to jolt sleeping creatures from the branches above. The land itself roars in response. Far away, Todd feels the quake beneath his feet and shouts in disbelief, asking if this is an earthquake. He does not stop running. He cannot. As he runs, a single desperate thought repeats in his mind, begging Noah not to die. Back at the epicenter, Noah remains kneeling, one hand pressed to the ground. He does not need to see the chucker to fight it. He knows it. Ash and dust rise into the air, thickening until vision becomes impossible. Noah focuses, manipulating the ash as it lifts and swirls. The chucker roars in fury, enraged by the disruption. Every movement it makes is familiar to him. He has already seen them all. The ash coils around the chucker, forming a suffocating veil that strips away its sight. Noah smiles grimly as the darkness closes in. He speaks calmly, explaining his theory about the monkeys, about why they all fight the same way, about why he sees them everywhere, about why they seem drawn to him. There was only one part he could never understand. Why he could not predict everything. The chucker growls blindly, sweat pouring down its body as it lashes out. Noah's silhouette appears within the ash, steady and unyielding. Now he understands. Something else is controlling them. Something sent this creature here, somewhere it does not belong. The chucker slams its arms into the ground, trying to disperse the ash, but it fails. Cloud remains, dense and unbroken. Noah gathers wind in his palm and declares that it is over. He releases the attack silently, confident in the outcome. At the last moment, the chucker's eyes change. They turn black. The creature twists aside, dodging the attack entirely. Noah's confidence shatters. He stares in disbelief as the chucker retaliates instantly, flinging a storm of sand and debris with deadly force. The projectiles strike Noah, throwing him backward. He crashes to the ground as the ash settles and the battlefield clears. He looks up, stunned. This should not be possible. Chuckers never dodge like that. The monster advances. Noah tries to call upon his wind runes, lifting his hand, but there is nothing left. They are completely depleted. The chucker reaches him and seizes him by the neck, lifting him off the ground with crushing strength. Noah gasps, his vision darkening. His thoughts turn to Todd and Isabel. He hopes, desperately, that he bought them enough time to escape. Then a voice speaks. The sound of it freezes his blood. Noah's eyes widen as recognition hits him. The voice, paired with those eyes, is unmistakable. He realizes what changed just before the chucker dodged and counterattacked. It was as if the creature became something else entirely. His mind flashes back to the red eye he once saw within his inner world. Something has taken control. The voice speaks again, cold and certain, telling him that he will not get back up this time. And so, Noah does not give up. Ash begins to rise once more as he gathers what remains of his strength. He still has one rune left. The ash swirls violently around him. His expression turns fierce as dark shapes form behind him. Black rods emerge from the ash in massive numbers, hovering in the air. They are standing in a forest made entirely of ash. The rods rain down in a deadly storm, impaling everything in their path, piercing both the ground and the figures within the cloud. As the devastation unfolds, one final thought crosses Noah's mind, sharp and chilling. That voice, was it the Hellreaver? Noah's body remains kneeling where it fell, his back hunched forward as countless black rods pierce through him. Blood drips steadily from the wounds, soaking into the ash-covered ground. The scene is silent except for the fading echoes of destruction. Then footsteps approach. Noah returns in a newly reborn body, naked and breathing hard as he stares at the devastation he caused. Relief and disbelief wash over him at the same time. He mutters that he did it. He killed a chucker. The weight of that victory settles in slowly, followed almost immediately by urgency. Todd and Isabel. He needs to find them. He presses a hand to his head, groaning as pain flares again. Pushing through it, he moves quickly to a hollowed-out dead tree nearby. During his earlier training, he had hidden spare clothes and supplies throughout the forest for moments exactly like this. He retrieves them, dressing quickly, and gathers what little remains of his belongings. Nearly everything else was shredded in the fight. He makes sure to take the gourd before leaving. Fully dressed, but still unsteady, he starts walking through the scorched land, scanning the surroundings. He wonders where Todd and Isabel ran. At least they listened. That alone eases some of the tension in his chest. The last thing he needs is someone witnessing him die and return. The adrenaline fades fast. His strength drains away, and he leans heavily against a tree before sliding down into a sitting position. Exhaustion overwhelms him. Right now, he is useless. Still, he reassures himself that Todd and Isabel are strong enough to survive until the transport cannon activates and pulls them back. That moment should not be far off. His eyes grow heavy. He tells himself he will just rest for a moment. Sleep takes him. Not long after, blue light envelopes the area as the return mechanism activates. Noah, Todd, and Isabel are pulled from the scorched acres in streaks of energy, reappearing near the transport cannon. Todd and Isabel spot Noah immediately. Shock floods their faces as they rush toward him, shouting that he is alive. Isabel stares at him in disbelief, remembering the sound of the rock hitting his body. Todd demands to know how Noah survived a blow like that without a shield. Noah forces a light smile, brushing it off. He says they will chalk it up to luck and a lot of healing potions. As he walks past them, holding his head, Isabel speaks behind him, realization dawning. That must be why he told them to buy supplies earlier. Todd, thinking quietly to himself, wonders if healing potions are also capable of fixing clothes. Noah awkwardly agrees and quickly changes the subject. He asks what happened after they ran. Todd straightens proudly and reports that they did not turn back, just as instructed. A monkey chased them, but he handled it. He stretches enthusiastically as he says so. Noah, Isabel, and the operator all stare at Todd in stunned silence. Trying to regain control of the situation, Noah dismisses the class, tells them they will meet again in 2 days, and orders them not to stop training. As he walks away, still clutching his head, he glances back and asks if he said something wrong. Behind him, Todd and Isabel exchange worried looks. They hope Professor Vermeil is okay. After all, he really did save them back there. Noah continues down the long alley toward his quarters, each step heavier than the last. His head throbs relentlessly. He knows he needs to find a cure for these headaches. Being unable to die could become a curse if anyone realizes how helpless he is when he comes back. But that is not even the worst part. His hallucinations are getting stronger. Sweat runs down his face. Shadows stretch and twist around him. He sees monsters everywhere. In every dark corner, every shifting silhouette, he sees monkeys and slashers. Faces blur. People lose their shapes, replaced by creatures from the scorched acres. His back hunches as he walks, clutching his briefcase like an anchor to reality. At this rate, he fears what might happen next. He collides with someone. The impact snaps him out of his thoughts just long enough for confusion to hit. He looks up and freezes. Towering over him is a chucker, fist raised, looming as if ready to strike. It snarls, telling him to watch where he is going. Panic surges. Noah reacts on instinct. He strikes. His punch connects with brutal force. The figure is thrown backward, crashing to the ground as a shield shatters under the impact. People around them gasp in disbelief. Someone shouts that Professor Vermeil just punched a student. Reality crashes back in. Noah stares at his fist in horror. That was not a chucker. He just attacked a student. If not for the shield badge, the boy might have been killed. The shattered shield flickers weakly. As the student struggles to his feet, furious and confused, he demands to know what that was for, asking how Noah even managed to break his shield with a punch. Noah stammers, panic overtaking him as murmurs spread through the crowd. He does not know. He truly does not. The student grows angrier and threatens retaliation. The confrontation is interrupted by the arrival of an armored man. His presence silences the crowd instantly. The man remarks dryly that he leaves the student alone for 1 hour, and the shield is already broken, inside Arbitage, no less. The injured student hurriedly explains what happened, naming the man Professor Silvertide. Insists Noah attacked without hesitation, like someone trying to kill. Noah's thoughts spiral. This is bad. He is going to be fired, or arrested. And then what happens to Todd and Isabel? The student, meanwhile, fears his own punishment, imagining brutal training as retribution. Professor Silvertide dismisses the student's outrage with a single word, calling him an idiot. He studies Noah closely, then speaks with certainty. This man is a soldier. Anyone who has fought monsters does not have the luxury of deciding friend or foe before acting. The student is lucky he survived. Noah is stunned. He protests weakly, saying he is not a soldier. Silvertide places a hand on Noah's shoulder and asks what else he could be. Certainly not a student. Noah hesitates, then answers that he is a teacher. Professor Vermeil. Silvertide nods in understanding. He turns sharply to the student, calling him Tyler, and orders him to apologize. Tyler immediately kneels and returns Noah's briefcase, apologizing profusely for the trouble. Noah stands there, bewildered. He does not understand why he is the one receiving an apology. He mutters that no harm was done, but pain spikes violently in his head again. He winces, clutching his skull, and abruptly excuses himself, apologizing for the shield before pushing through the crowd. Behind him, Silvertide watches with interest, remarking that Noah is an interesting man. Tyler does not agree. Noah barely hears any of it. He reaches his room and slams the door shut, sliding down until he is sitting against it, hands gripping his head. His breathing is uneven, fear finally catching up to him. He asks himself what is happening to him. He forces himself into his inner world. The damage is worse than before. Massive cracks and holes stretch everywhere, deeper and wider than he remembered. He knows he cannot keep living like this. There has to be an answer, some kind of clue. And he sees it. A full face emerges from the darkness. A massive monkey's face, dominated by a single red eye, stares directly at him. Recognition hits instantly. That eye. He knows it. Hallucinations. The damage to his soul. The pain. The voices. It all points to the same source. It is all because of that thing. Before he can process further, a knock echoes from outside his door. A familiar voice calls his name. Professor Richard stands outside. He says they need to talk. Noah cracks the door open just enough to peer out, forcing a polite smile despite the sweat clinging to his face. He greets Richard casually, masking the tension twisting in his chest. Inside his head, panic churns. Of all people, this is the last one he wanted to see. He wonders what Richard wants from him now. Richard stands in the hallway, calm and composed, explaining that he was asked to check on Noah's recent odd behavior. On the way, however, he happened to run into Professor Silvertide. Noah replies from behind the partially opened door, only his face and one arm visible, admitting that he has also just had the pleasure of meeting Silvertide. Richard raises a hand, green magic glowing faintly around it, and asks whether he needs to evaluate Noah's mental state again. Assaulting students, he notes dryly, is far worse than Noah's usual behavior. Noah lets out a small, awkward chuckle and insists that won't be necessary. He claims it was only a simple misunderstanding and that he is doing just fine. Richard accepts the answer but adds a warning of his own. He does not want Noah's father paying attention to him again simply because he once treated Vermel. He trusts that even Noah is smart enough not to become interesting to that man. The words linger heavily. Noah freezes internally. Vermel's father. The mention sets off alarm bells. He smiles stiffly and quickly acknowledges the warning, trying to end the conversation and close the door. Before he can, Richard blocks it with his foot. He reaches out and hands Noah a pouch that jingles softly. It contains Noah's wages from the previous month. The school asked Richard to deliver them since Noah never came to collect them himself. Noah blinks, surprised, and thanks him. As Richard turns to leave, he tells Noah to pick up his wages himself next time. He adds one last sharp remark, saying that Noah should tell his paranoid father that he is not foolish enough to poke around in his son's mind. He claims he knows nothing. The hallway falls quiet. Noah looks down at the pouch in his hand, unsettled. He cannot tell whether that exchange was a warning or a threat. Taking it off, his thoughts drift elsewhere. He wonders how much one of those items would cost. Several days pass. Todd and Isabel are already seated in the classroom, waiting. Isabel bites at her nails, tapping her foot nervously against the floor. She leans toward Todd and asks whether he thinks Noah is coming. She worries aloud that maybe he is still recovering. Outside, Noah approaches the building riding a flying sword. He descends toward the structure and lands awkwardly on the roof, stepping off as if this were entirely normal. He greets them loudly, then immediately realizes how strange this must look. Inside the classroom, Isabel stiffens and looks up. She taps the floor as she stares toward the sound, asking if that really is him. Noah waves down at them from the roof and tells them to stand back. He announces that he is going to fly down. Todd squints upward, incredulous, asking if Noah really just said fly. Isabel replies that she guesses he must be feeling better after all. Noah mounts the sword again, wobbling badly as he tries to control it. Despite his grin, the ride is anything but smooth. He declares his descent, then promptly crashes into the wall. He bounces off one surface, then another, before finally slamming into the ground in a cloud of dust. Isabel coughs, calling out to ask if he is okay. Todd mutters that there had to be a better way to do that. Noah stands up from the rubble, brushing himself off and smiling broadly. He admits he is still getting the hang of it, but insists the sword is incredible fun. Todd stares at the cracked weapon and remarks that it looks like the cheapest flying sword he has ever seen. Isabel steps forward and hands Noah a bouquet of flowers with a card resting on top. Noah freezes, stunned. He asks what it is. Isabel, suddenly shy, explains that it is just flowers and a card, meant to thank him for saving them. Todd proudly adds that the card was his idea. Noah takes the bouquet, opens the card, and reads. His face flushes red as emotion wells up inside him. The words thank him for believing in them and for saving their lives. Todd's portion is blunt but heartfelt. Noah's eyes sting as he looks up at them. He thanks them sincerely. For a moment, memories from his previous life surface. Students smiling, music filling a room, the simple joy of teaching. The feeling tightens his chest. He reaches into his bag and tells them he has something for them as well. He explains that they said they do not have the resources of a noble house. Before they can respond, he hands them his grimoire. Todd and Isabel stare at it, as if it were priceless treasure. Todd blurts out that it is Noah's grimoire, filled with Linwick runes. Isabel, tense, asks if this is some kind of joke. Noah assures them it is not. It is a promise. He tells them he will do everything in his power to help them. Isabel worries aloud that his family will kill him for sharing their secrets, while Todd is already thrilled, imagining the greater runes they can now use. Noah shrugs it off, saying that what his family does not know will not hurt them. He instructs both of them to replace one of their lesser runes with a greater one by the next class. Todd explodes with excitement, declaring Noah the best teacher ever. Isabel, still cautious, asks why he keeps sticking his neck out for them. Noah answers by asking how this is any different from a teacher giving a student a shield. Isabel points out that families usually pay for those. Noah dismisses it as semantics, mounts his flying sword again, and tells them that he has somewhere to be. When they finish, they are to put the grimoire in his desk and claim he forgot it there if anyone asks. He tells them goodbye and to enjoy their new runes. Todd thanks him enthusiastically as Noah lifts off. A moment later, he crashes into the roof again, debris raining down as he shouts his farewell. Todd watches him fly away and remarks that Noah is certainly something. Isabel replies dryly that if his family does not kill him, the sword probably will. Later, Noah arrives at Building A, the Academy's most prestigious structure. Inside one of the classrooms, Moxie enters carrying books. It pauses when she notices a familiar face. She asks sharply what Noah is doing there. Noah, sitting in one of the chairs and looking exhausted, tells her he is there to watch her teach. She demands to know why. He answers eagerly that he wants to learn. He admits he has slacked off for too long and needs to properly learn the material if he is going to teach his students well. Moxie sets her books down and remarks that she heard he had gone insane. Looking at him now, she says that insane does not even begin to cover it. Still, she allows him to sit in, warning him not to say a word. A student enters the room, a young woman with long white hair. Moxie greets her and tells her to take a seat, explaining that Noah is only sitting in for one class. Noah greets the student, Emily, who asks whether they will be doing rune work again. Noah observes silently, surprised that Moxie seems to have only one student. Moxie explains that today they are reviewing Emily's written exam, and it was not a good showing. She reminds Emily of her duty to the Torrens. Emily sighs, complaining that the test was boring. Moxie insists that it was important, explaining that understanding others is essential for nobles. Noah's attention sharpens at the word noble. Emily responds half-heartedly. Moxie presses harder, pointing out that Emily wrote only one sentence for an essay about who can use runes, and left the second question blank entirely. Emily explains that the second question was about rune combinations, and if she ever needs one, she can just ask her grandmother. Moxie rejects that excuse and grows angrier, pointing out that Emily even missed a basic question about the 4 great families. Emily insists she listed them all, King, Heron, and Torren. Moxie snaps that the Linwicks are also one of the great families, no matter how distasteful they are. Emily counters that they are enemies. Moxie responds that this makes it even more important to know them. A noble's duty extends beyond runes alone. Noah watches quietly, understanding dawning. An entire family hates the Linwicks. Perhaps Vermil truly was not alone in being despised. He compares Emily to Todd and Isabel and feels a surge of certainty. Emily has been given everything and does not care. Todd and Isabel, on the other hand, earned every step forward. This only reinforces his decision to give them access to the Linwick runes. They deserve it. Moxie notices Noah staring and asks why he is still there. Noah replies that he was just thinking and thanks her for letting him sit in. He says it was enlightening. She asks why. Noah scrambles internally, remembering that as a noble he should already know everything covered. He settles on saying it was simply a different perspective. Moxie accepts the answer and leaves, remarking that she may have used the wrong word earlier. Instead of insane, she should have said improved. Noah smiles to himself as he watches her walk away. He realizes that he kind of likes her. He leaves the classroom distracted, failing to notice the people in the hall, and walks straight into 2 of them. One snaps at him to watch where he's going, and Noah immediately apologizes, asking if they're all right. The professor accompanying the student dismisses him coldly, telling the student not to associate with that embarrassment any more than necessary. The student obeys, addressing the man as Magus Allen. Noah watches them go, blinking as sweat trickles down his face. Embarrassment sounds personal. They must have known Vermil. His unease deepens. He cannot delay any longer. He needs to uncover the truth about Vermil's family and their connections. before one of them decides to put a knife in his back. The moment comes as Isabel steals herself, killing intent flaring hot and red as she sets her stance. The slasher lunges. She ducks low beneath its attack, heart pounding, while Todd snaps his fingers behind her, fire igniting as his rune activates. Isabel shouts his name, and without hesitation Todd plants a foot against her back and launches himself forward. The slasher swings again, but the blow never lands. Todd's flaming fist crashes into its face, the impact snapping its head back. The creature staggers, its balance broken. Isabel is already moving. She surges forward and brings her blade down in a clean, decisive arc, splitting the monster in two. Above them, Noah claps slowly as he hovers on his flying sword, pride clear on his face. He tells them their progress is incredible, that before long they will be able to kill slashers without relying on each other. As he watches them, his thoughts drift inward. It has been a while since he last died. He feels it clearly now. With time to recover, his soul has begun to mend, the cracks easing, the suffocating visions fading into the background. The nightmares still exist, but they no longer claw at him with the same intensity. He glances across the scorched land from his elevated vantage point. With the flying sword, he can spot chuckers long before they come anywhere near his students. Whatever the Hellreaver is planning, whatever game it is playing through the creatures of this land, he will not allow it to threaten Todd and Isabel again. Todd comes running toward him, face lit with excitement as Noah descends. He boasts about his shot, about planting his attack right into the slasher's head, marveling at how powerful the greater fire rune feels. He thanks Noah again, calling him Teacher Man with unrestrained enthusiasm. Noah steps off the sword and tells him not to mention it. Literally, seeing that their runes still hold energy, Noah suggests they keep training while daylight remains. Todd eagerly confirms he is still good to go. Isabel adds that her magic barely drained any energy at all. With that settled, Noah points ahead dramatically and urges them onward, reminding them that there are more slashers waiting. Eventually, their time in the scorched acres ends. The three return to the transport capsule, stepping back into familiar stone and steel. Tim greets them cheerfully, asking how it went and whether they showed those monkeys who was boss. Noah places a hand on each of his students' shoulders and proudly answers that they did. Todd grins and brags about how badly they fried their enemies, while Isabel only shrugs, her expression more subdued. Tim laughs and tells them to keep it up. At this rate, he jokes, he expects to see them come back someday carrying the Hellreaver's head on a platter. He adds that then it will just be a matter of deciding which of them gets to keep its master rune. The words catch Noah's attention. A master rune. That is right. Todd confidently declares it will obviously be his, since he already uses fire. Noah's thoughts turn dark and focused. Moxie mentioned that the Hellreaver possesses one. The closest known threat is the Hellreaver itself, ranked at 2 and likely nearing 3, wielding a master rune. Noah wonders if that rune is what allows it to control the other monkeys throughout the scorched acres. The idea only strengthens his resolve. Whatever the cost, that creature has to die. He waves goodbye to his students, telling them to keep up the good work and that he will see them next class. Todd happily returns the farewell as Noah flies off. Left behind, Todd turns to Isabel, concern creeping into his voice. She seems off. He asks if she is all right. Isabel turns away and insists that she is fine. He presses. She snaps at him, swatting his hand away and repeating herself more harshly. Todd is left confused, wondering if he said something wrong. Isabel announces she is going to study and leaves, promising to see him tomorrow. She makes her way to the Arbitage Library, rows of towering shelves surrounding her as students murmur and read. The reality of everything presses down on her chest. It is all becoming too real. She pulls a book from the shelf, one detailing the Linwick family. Todd, her family, the nobles she despises, the system that has shaped her life. Before, she could dismiss her ambitions as an impossible dream, but now she is growing stronger. The path ahead is no longer imaginary. The weight of it makes her throat tighten. She wipes at her eyes, frustrated and angry, cursing Noah under her breath. Why did he have to be a Linwick? Elsewhere in the library, Noah stands squinting at the shelves, irritation building. None of the librarians are around, leaving him to fend for himself. He wonders how he is supposed to find information on the Hellreaver or the Linwicks alone. He moves downstairs, shoulders slumped, resignation creeping in. He needs to learn who his family is so he knows who to avoid. Anyone who truly knew Vermeil would realize quickly that he is not the same person. The task feels impossible. He considers giving up for the day and coming back tomorrow. Then he hears a raised voice cut through the quiet. Someone is yelling. He bristles immediately, thinking that no one is supposed to shout in a library. He follows the sound, the voice growing louder and more venomous. The speaker threatens someone, warning them not to snoop on their family again, promising them the same fate as their father. Noah thinks that whoever it is possesses the most arrogant, haughty tone he has ever heard. Rounding the corner of the shelves, he freezes. His eyes widen, sweat forming as recognition hits him. He sees Edward, the student he collided with before, looming over Isabel. She is slumped on the floor as Edward berates her, threatening her not to get back up. Noah calls out sharply. Edward turns, surprised, and Isabel's eyes widen as she hears Noah's voice. Noah strides toward Edward, anger rolling off him in waves as wind stirs around his clenched fists. He orders Edward to back away from her. Edward responds by kicking Isabel as she sits on the floor, accusing her of lying about being alone. That is enough. Noah raises his arm, wind spiraling in his palm, and releases it. The blast slams into Edward, sending him flying as his shield flares to life and absorbs the worst of the impact. Edward laughs even as he staggers upright, mocking Noah for using magic on him. He sneers at Noah's rank, calling it pathetic. Noah advances without hesitation, green light beginning to glow around him. He calls Edward mouthy, his voice cold and sharp. Edward taunts him further, daring him to do something, boasting that Noah cannot even break his shield. From the floor, Isabel shouts for Noah to stop, begging him not to get himself into trouble. Noah glances back and tells her not now. He says calmly that the student has just asked him for tutelage. Energy floods Noah's fist, the green glow intensifying. He declares that, as a teacher, he is obligated to provide that lesson in full. Edward laughs, eyes squeezed shut in arrogance, still mocking Noah's rank and his shield strength. Punch lands before Edward ever sees it coming. Noah's fist crashes into his face, dragging him backward, then slamming him hard into the floor. The shield shatters uselessly beneath the blow. Noah looks down at him and comments dryly on the shield. Edward stares up in horror, blood streaming from his nose. Unable to believe what just happened, he begins to protest, to demand Noah explain himself. Noah cuts him off, telling him he has no idea who Edward is. That ignorance, he explains, allows him to frame this entire encounter as a misunderstanding. Noah squats in front of Edward, who raises his arms defensively, trembling. Noah smiles as he delivers the threat plainly. If Edward tells anyone about this, Noah will kill him and erase the problem entirely. Then he leans in and whispers that this is the part where Edward runs. Edward does not hesitate. He scrambles to his feet and flees. Noah turns back to Isabel and helps her stand, asking if she is all right. She stares at him, stunned, and tells him he is crazy. Noah smiles lightly and says he was just doing his duty as her professor. Besides, the student asked for a lesson. He could not refuse. Isabel wipes her face and laughs weakly, calling him crazy again. She cannot believe he would punch a member of his own family for her. Noah blinks, utterly confused, asking what she just said. Isabel pauses, then asks if he was serious about not recognizing Edward. He tells him the truth. That was Edward Linwick, the only student from the Linwick main branch currently studying in Arbitage. Somewhere nearby, Edward's furious voice echoes, vowing revenge and threatening to have Magus Allen kill Vermil for this. Isabel's anger breaks through her panic as soon as the adrenaline fades. She demands to know how Noah can act so relaxed after assaulting someone from his own family, warning him that the Linwicks are infamous for never forgiving such slights. Noah merely shrugs it off. He reasons that, technically, he did not know who he was punching, and besides, the boy challenged him. From his point of view, he was simply doing his job as a teacher. Isabel stares at him in disbelief, pointing out that there is no world in which that excuse will actually work. Noah does not seem concerned. Instead, his attention drifts back to the shelves, frustration creeping into his voice as he mentions the book that was lost in the scuffle. He asks whether there might be a second copy. Isabel answers flatly that there would not be. A lineage record is not something a public library keeps duplicates of, especially not one belonging to a family like the Linwicks. Noah accepts that answer, then turns the question back on her. He asks why she was researching his family in the first place. Isabel's mood darkens. She explains that it is because of the upcoming exam. Many noble houses attend to observe promising students, and she had heard the Linwicks would be among them. She wanted to know which students belonged to that family. Noah watches her carefully as she speaks. Her expression tells him this is not simple curiosity. Whatever connection Isabel has to the Linwicks, it runs deeper than she is willing to say. Deciding they should not linger, Noah urges her to leave the library before anyone comes looking for them. As they descend the stairs together, he wonders aloud where everyone is gone. Isabel explains that most students are busy currying favor with noble houses, hoping to become retainers in exchange for access to better runes. Noah remarks that this explains a great deal, then asks why she is not doing the same. Her answer is quiet and heavy. Her family has been blacklisted. As they round a corner, Noah peers ahead and spots distant silhouettes clustered together. It becomes immediately clear where everyone is gone. With a grimace, he asks Isabel whether she has somewhere safe to go, at least until the matter of punching a Linwick settles down. She snaps back that he should worry about himself, since he is the one who threw the punch. Noah reassures her casually that he will be fine. He is a big boy, after all. As he continues to peek around the corner, his thoughts sharpen. The people gathered ahead are nobles, surrounded by color, finery, and bodyguards, while others fawn over them. Isabel is right. He needs to lie low. Running into more members of his so-called family right now would only invite suspicion, and suspicion is the last thing he can afford. He tells Isabel to go, reminding her that he expects her in class tomorrow. She retorts that he is always the one who is late. Noah asks her to let him know if she manages to recover the book. With a short reply, she walks away. As she leaves, Noah apologizes silently. If his family is present, it is safer for her to keep her distance. His thoughts turn inward again. If the Linwicks are here, it raises an unsettling question. Did they play a role in everything that has happened so far? There is a dark history tied to that name, and if he truly wants to protect his students, he needs to understand it. He also has no idea how seriously the Linwicks might take Edward's humiliation. With the library no longer an option, only one path remains open to him. He hopes she is home. Sometime later, Noah stands outside Moxie's door. She opens it just enough to glare at him, clearly unimpressed. She threatens to file a complaint for harassment if this continues and demands to know what he wants. Noah answers honestly, explaining that his fist has, accidentally and unintentionally, found its way into the nose of a Linwick brat. Sweat beads on his face as Moxie studies him with suspicion. After a moment, she steps aside and tells him to come in. Noah enters her room, taking in the space. It is filled with plants and lined with bookshelves, far more thoughtfully arranged than his own quarters. He notes internally that she has put far more effort into decorating than he ever has. Moxie asks if he has seen enough. Noah jokes that her room is missing a large pile of scattered papers to ward off face stealers, prompting a brief, reluctant smile as she remembers the state of his office. She quickly clears her throat and tells him to get on with it. Half the reason she let him inside, she says, is so she can explain exactly how dire his situation is. Noah eagerly recounts the incident, saying that Edward was harassing his student, that he told him to stop, and that Edward challenged him to make him. Noah pauses, then adds simply that he did. Moxie stares at him, unimpressed. That is it, she says. No details at all. She demands at least a name. When Noah answers Edward, her anger evaporates instantly. Edward, she repeats, realizing the implication. He is part of the Linwick main branch, Noah's cousin. Noah shrugs again, as if this revelation barely matters. Moxie rubs her face, thinking quickly. Edward's shield should have been around rank 2. Noah should know that, given their family connection. She asks how he managed to break through it. Noah answers plainly that he punched him. Moxie freezes, stunned, then asks him to repeat himself. Noah pantomimes the action, explaining that it was just a punch. She snaps back that she knows what a punch is. What she wants to know is how he punched through a shield of that level. Then she tells him to try it on her. Noah hesitates, worried about hurting her, but she insists. He is only rank 1, she reminds him. She will be fine. Wind begins to spiral around Noah's fist as energy gathers. Moxie's eyes widen slightly as she senses it. Noah throws the punch, but it slips past her face without making contact. Her hair whips back as the gust of wind passes. Instinctively, she activates her rune, vines surging from her sleeves, only to realize she was never the target. Noah retracts his fist and explains that it was a feint. He does not see what is so impressive about it. Moxie slowly draws the vines back, shaking her head. She tells him it was not just a feint. She cannot fully explain it, but for a moment it felt as though every part of him was focused on the spell, and that focus dragged her attention with it. Then his fist simply appeared, as if it had come from nowhere. Noah takes this in, then shifts to the practical concern. He asks whether he should be preparing for a group of angry nobles to attack him over disciplining their child. Moxie assures him that his family is unlikely to murder him outright. At worst, Edward's instructor will challenge him publicly in an attempt to humiliate him. Noah exhales in relief, saying he can handle that. Moxie admits that she is disappointed. She had hoped she might get to participate if things turn violent. Noah asks what is stopping her. She answers honestly. He was helping his student, acting like a real teacher rather than the pathetic excuse she once believed him to be. No matter how much she might want to, she cannot side against him in this. Noah thanks her and, with a hint of a smile, asks whether that means they are friends now. Moxie recoils as if nauseated, telling him never to say that again, or she will put his head through a wall. She orders him out of her room. Elsewhere, in the transport cannon, a figure ascends the long staircase. At the top, Tim greets him automatically, still focused on his map, until he looks up and freezes. Is Magus Alan? Alan asks coldly whether Vermil comes here often. Tim stammers an affirmative answer. Magus Alan slams his hand onto the desk, making Tim flinch, and orders him to report exactly when Vermil leaves next time. As Magus Alan turns and walks away, his words linger in the air. They are going to prepare a welcoming party for Vermil. Tim remains frozen behind the desk long after Magus Alan leaves. Sweat beads along his brow as he bites down on the tip of his feathered pen, the map before him blurring while Alan's threat echoes in his mind. He is still steeling himself when familiar voices approach. Todd's excited chatter reaches him first, loud and unfiltered, as he walks alongside Noah toward the transport cannon desk. Todd talks animatedly about the punch Noah threw, marveling at it, and wishing he could have seen it himself. When Todd looks up and notices Tim, his enthusiasm only grows. Noah answers Todd casually, saying the boy had asked for it, quite literally. Tim's stomach tightens. Alan's words resurface in his thoughts, sharp and urgent. Vermil showing up now is the worst possible timing. If Noah is caught off guard out there, the consequences could be fatal. Noah greets Tim with his usual easy smile and asks for the same destination as always. Tim forces himself to respond normally, telling him that everything is already set. Noah is predictable, Tim adds with an awkward laugh. He even jokes about how Noah's frequent visits at nearly the same times have become the highlight of his day. Noah chuckles along, though the compliment lands strangely. Behind his smile, Tim is sweating. Noah still does not understand. He repeats that Noah is predictable, the emphasis heavy with warning. This time, Noah hears it. As Noah steps away, his thoughts sharpen. Tim is not teasing him. Someone is tracking his movements. But changing his routine now would only reveal that Tim tipped him off, and Noah refuses to put the man in danger. If there is a trap waiting, he will have to walk into it knowingly. Isabel calls out from the capsule, snapping Noah out of his thoughts. He answers quickly and moves to join them. As Tim tidies the desk, he tells Noah to be safe and not to exhaust himself. Noah thanks him sincerely, promising to return in 24 hours, and wishes him the same. Tim watches silently as Noah, Todd, and Isabel vanish into streaks of blue light. When they arrive in the scorched acres, Noah immediately feels the tension coil tighter in his chest. If someone knows his schedule, then it is possible they are already here, waiting. He resolves to be cautious. Isabel notices his unease and asks if something is wrong. Noah assures her that he is fine, though his focus has already turned inward. As they move forward, Noah activates his vibration rune, experimenting with the idea of using it as a kind of sensor. He wonders if he can detect breathing through disturbances in the air, or if a combination with Sunder might achieve something similar. He admits aloud that he is distracted. Todd suddenly points ahead, announcing a monkey and calling dibs with enthusiasm. Isabel squints, seeing nothing, and accuses him of hallucinating. Todd counters confidently, explaining that there is more than one way to see. He reminds her of Noah's lessons about thinking differently. One of his runes is a heat rune. He had once assumed it was just a weaker version of fire, but living beings generate warmth. People do. Monkeys do too. Todd's perception shifts, heat signatures flaring into view. Noah's pride is immediate and unmistakable. He praises Todd, clapping him on the shoulder and marveling at how ingenious the application is. More importantly, Noah realizes this means no one else is nearby. If there were people hiding, Todd would have seen them. Todd grins, sparks flicking from his fingers as he declares that now he can start training on his own. Isabel's concern surfaces immediately. She worries that it sounds dangerous. Todd counters with determination. There are only 2 weeks left until the exam, and Isabel herself has been pushing them to work harder. He has healing potions, and as long as he stays close, he will be safe. To Isabel's surprise, Noah agrees. He tells Todd that if he wants to train alone, he will not stop him, as long as he does not stray too far and shouts if he needs help. In Noah's mind, the logic is clear. If there was going to be an ambush, it would have happened upon their arrival. It did not. That means the danger lies later, when they return. There is no reason to hold the students back now. Todd beams and heads off, full of confidence, promising to crush more monkeys on his own. Noah and Isabel watch him go. Isabel sighs, admitting she knows Todd will probably be fine, but she cannot shake the worry. She recalls, with exasperation, the time he once tied his shoes together by accident. Noah dryly points out that Todd's shoes are already tied, eliminating that particular threat. When Isabel admits Todd was 8 at the time, Noah gently reminds her that he is not 8 anymore. Todd may be goofy, but he is capable, and so is she. Time passes. Isabel fights alone, moving with precision and confidence as she cuts down another monkey. When she straightens beneath the moonlight, breathing hard as dust and smoke drift away, Noah comments that she will need to get used to it. When she asks what he means, he answers plainly, fighting while worrying about someone else. Isabel insists again that she is fine, that she simply does not want a classmate to die. Noah smiles, acknowledging that it is a logical answer, but only if she actually means it. Her frustration flares. She demands to know what he wants her to say, insisting that Todd is just her classmate. Noah points out the contradiction in her words. He tells her that whatever personal issues she has are between her and Todd. His role is to make her stronger. Isabel protests that there are no issues, that they get along well. Noah notes, mildly, that he thought they were just classmates. She grows irritated and asks if there is a point to this. Noah answers that there is. He tells her plainly to stop being defensive about something that does not need defending, at least not from him. Isabel exhales, asking how she is supposed to simply stop caring. Noah answers honestly. She does not stop, she just gets used to it. For a brief moment, his thoughts drift to the endless stretch of the afterlife he once walked, where everyone he loved was already long dead. Isabel listens quietly, then says she understands what he is trying to say, but it is not easy. After this year, she reasons, they probably will not even see each other again. Noah responds dryly that this explains why she knew Todd when he was 8, remarking that he had not realized passing his class required ending a lifelong relationship. Isabel starts to retort, but Noah abruptly tells her not to move. He has noticed something. Isabel's worry returns instantly as she asks what it is. Noah quiets her, explaining that whatever it is, it has not noticed them yet. Ashes begin to swirl around his arm as he steps forward and tells her he will handle it. He extends his palm, focusing his power. Black rods streak through the air toward a distant shape. They strike true, impaling a figure slumped against a tree. As Noah's eyes widen, understanding dawns. The chucker is already dead. Its flesh has been torn away, bones exposed. Something else killed it before Noah ever attacked. He studies the remains grimly, asking himself what kind of predator would rip flesh from its prey and leave the corpse behind. The answer comes immediately, one that kills for sport. Without hesitation, Noah grabs Isabel's arm and pulls her into a run. He tells her they are going back for Todd. Panic flares in her voice as she asks what happened and whether Todd is all right. Noah answers quickly that Todd must be fine. If something had happened, they would have heard him. Even as he says it, dread creeps in. Unless Todd never had time to react. They sprint through the forest, Noah's thoughts racing, cursing the timing and his own decision to let Todd train alone. They burst into a clearing and skid to a stop. Todd stands there laughing proudly, boasting about killing a dozen monkeys. Noah exhales in relief, wiping sweat from his face and reassuring Isabel that he told her Todd would be fine. Isabel does not relax. She stares past Todd, pointing shakily and calling Noah's attention to something she cannot explain. Noah freezes mid-motion, his hand still raised to his face. His eyes widen. He asks, quietly and disbelievingly, why there are two Noah. Behind Todd, standing in the shadows, is another figure, a human, with Noah's face, staring back at him in equal shock. Isabel and Noah freeze when they see the person with the same face as Noah. Todd looks back as well, his expression shifting to surprise. Noah's mind races. He studies the duplicate with a sharp, sinking dread. For a brief, horrifying moment, he wonders if his Sunder rune has somehow split him in two. The thought spirals further, imagining fragments of himself multiplying every time he dies. But the idea collapses under its own weight. He has seen his corpses. He has felt himself pulled back after death. That explanation does not fit. Then the answer clicks into place with chilling clarity. A face stealer. His memory flashes to the old newspaper article he once read in his room, the warnings etched into his mind. Todd breaks the silence, looking between the two Noahs and asking what in the hell is going on. Isabel demands an explanation, her sword glowing brighter as she summons it. Noah hesitates. If he tells them the truth, he will have to explain how the face stealer obtained his body. That means exposing his greatest secret, the cycle of death and return. He cannot allow that. Not now. Not ever. Sweat trickles down his face as he decides there is only one option. He clears his throat awkwardly and asks Todd to step away so he can explain. Internally, he prays that face stealers are intelligent enough to follow along. Isabel presses him to start talking. Noah launches into a carefully constructed lie. He claims this is a special project he has been working on, the result of a unique rune combination. That, he says, is why he felt confident leaving Todd alone earlier. He places a hand on the imposter's shoulder and introduces it as his clone. The face stealer stiffens, then forces a nervous smile and gives an enthusiastic thumbs up. Isabel stares in disbelief, questioning whether cloning is even possible. Todd, on the other hand, is instantly thrilled, calling it incredible and asking to be taught how to do it. Noah shuts that down immediately, explaining that this particular technique is his secret. As he speaks, a faint violet glow spreads across his hand where it rests on the face stealer's shoulder. His voice drops low, carrying a threat only the imposter can hear. If it makes a single aggressive move, Noah will vibrate its brain into mush. The face stealer's smile tightens, fear flickering behind its eyes. Isabel asks which of them is the real Vermil. Both Noah and the imposter point to themselves at the same time. Noah calmly repeats the threat, adding a single word as emphasis. Pudding. He then tells Isabel that his clone has a terrible sense of humor and assures her that he is the real one. The face stealer quickly agrees, pointing back at Noah. Isabel admits that the entire situation is deeply unsettling. Noah ushers the imposter away from his students, asking Todd and Isabel not to mention this to anyone. Both promise their silence without hesitation. Noah explains that he and his clone need to have a private conversation. As they are out of earshot, Noah's demeanor hardens instantly. Ash gathers around him, forming jagged black spikes as he demands to know what the monster is doing in his body. The face stealer recoils in terror, insisting that this should be impossible, that Noah should be dead because it has his body. Noah answers coldly that it only has one of them. As the spikes creep closer, the face stealer panics and pleads. If Noah kills it, the students will start asking questions. He'd fabricate something, but eventually they would figure it out. Worse, if Noah wants to keep his ability to form new bodies secret, killing the face stealer would make that impossible. Noah snarls that he will not allow a monster to wander around in his body and murder people. His reputation is already terrible enough without rumors of cannibalism. He prepares to strike. The face stealer curls in on itself and blurts out desperately that it does not need to eat humans. Noah stops short, stunned, and demands clarification. The creature explains that it can eat other meat. It suggests, haltingly, that they could work together. Noah demands to know why it hunts humans at all if other food is available. Wouldn't livestock be easier? The face stealer answers, almost sheepishly, that humans taste better. Noah explodes in disbelief, asking if that is truly its only reason. The creature insists it is, adding unhelpfully that one cannot understand until one tries. Noah rubs his forehead, furious, and tells it not to continue. He reiterates that he will still kill it. The face stealer quickly backtracks, saying it would rather live and will give up eating humans entirely if that is the cost. Noah presses harder, asking how he could ever trust such a promise. What would stop the face stealer from stealing his body and fleeing the moment Noah turns his back? The creature suggests it could change its form to something else, maybe a cow or a bird. Noah immediately shuts that down, pointing out that it could still kill people regardless of appearance. That is not good enough. With a frustrated snarl, the face stealer tears its own face free, the skin stretching grotesquely as it reveals its true form beneath. It curses its luck at finding the one man who can return from death and begs Noah to be reasonable, insisting it does not want to fade into the afterlife. Noah replies dryly that the afterlife is not that bad, mostly just waiting. Ash thickens around him again as he explains that he will soon be pulled back to Arbitage. Unless the face stealer gives him a compelling reason, Noah will not leave while the creature still possesses his body. The face stealer stammers, scrambling for an answer. Noah decides time is up and, almost apologetically, remarks that the creature seems almost nice, an odd thing to say to a cannibal. Desperate, the face stealer shouts that it will swear on its runes. The spike halts inches from its eyes. Sweat pours down its face. As Noah considers the words, he asks if the creature truly believes a promise is enough. The face stealer clarifies that it is not a simple promise but a rune oath. If it breaks the oath, its runes will shatter. Noah confirms his understanding. A rune oath is magically binding. When the face stealer snaps back incredulously, Noah decides to test it. Ash coils around Noah as he swears on his own runes that if the face stealer does not obey him for the next minute, he will kill it. Inside his inner world, chains materialize instantly, binding every rune he possesses. Noah gasps, then smiles faintly, impressed. The oath worked. He tells the face stealer it is now its turn, and warns that the oath must cover everything. There will be no second chances. The face stealer agrees, and swears on its runes to the original owner of the body. It vows that they will work together until they reach an agreement to dissolve the oath, acting in both of their interests. In return, Noah will help it gather runes. Chains manifest within the face stealer's inner world as well, sealing the vow. The creature asks if the terms are acceptable. Noah examines the oath carefully and finds no obvious loopholes. Reluctantly, he agrees. He offers his hand, suggesting that perhaps this arrangement could become a productive partnership. The face stealer sighs in relief and takes it. Noah remarks that cooperation is better than death. Later, after they finish talking, Noah returns to his students. As Todd sees him approach, he starts to speak, saying they were talking while he was gone, but stops mid-sentence. Isabel notices that only one Noah has returned and asks what happened to the clone. Noah improvises smoothly, claiming he sent it to investigate the mutilated chucker corpse they found earlier. Todd says Isabel had mentioned it and wonders if another monkey killed it, but Isabel insists it was definitely human. Noah privately agrees with her suspicion, most likely a face stealer. Aloud, he says he is not sure, but hopes his clone will uncover something. He urges them to prepare, reminding them that they will soon be pulled back to Arbitage. Isabel asks why he sounds so concerned about returning. Noah admits that he suspects a welcoming party is waiting for them. The incident with Edward is about to catch up. Outside the transport cannon building, Edward sits impatiently beside Magus Allen on the stairs. Edward complains that he is bored and eagerly anticipates watching Vermil beg for forgiveness. Magus Allen tells him to be patient. They will arrive soon. The transport operator promised as much. Then Allen's gaze shifts, and he addresses someone else nearby. Magus Moxie stands in the distance, leaning casually against a tree, watching everything unfold. Noah steps out from the transport cannon building and immediately senses the weight of attention settling on him. Ahead, waiting in plain view, stand Magus Allen and Edward. Their silhouettes frame the entrance like an accusation made flesh. Magus Allen addresses him first, calm and sharp, acknowledging him by name and mentioning the altercation with Edward. Noah responds evenly, denying any wrongdoing. He claims ignorance, saying Edward merely requested tutelage and that he provided it. Edward tries to protest, anger flaring, but Allen cuts him off and silences him. Allen's gaze returns to Noah, cold and assessing, chastising him for letting his ego run unchecked despite not belonging to the main family branch. Noah does not back down. He counters that the only thing running wild is Allen's apprentice. He explains that Edward was assaulting one of his students and that he refused to stand by and watch. Allen dismisses the claim, insisting that even if Edward had assaulted Noah's student, it would not have been Noah's place to discipline him. Noah's patience snaps. He retorts that he had not realized Allen intended to step in and stop Edward himself. From Noah's perspective, he merely spared Allen the embarrassment of having to apologize afterward. Edward explodes in outrage, demanding punishment and complaining about his broken nose. He calls Noah an embarrassment to the Linwick name. Allen sharply reins him in again, ordering him to control his tongue and stating that the matter will be addressed later. Edward mutters about family rules, and Noah takes note of the phrase. Allen then declares that Edward's honor has been affronted and that such an insult cannot be ignored. Noah's hand hums faintly with violent energy as he cuts straight to the point, asking what Allen wants. Edward eagerly shouts for a duel, but Allen immediately rejects the idea, stating that a duel is inappropriate for an insult of this level. Instead, he demands that Noah bring the student involved. Noah refuses outright. Allen questions him, incredulous, but Noah repeats his refusal. Edward shouts that the girl is the reason he was punched. Noah corrects him flatly, stating that Edward alone is responsible for what happened. Alan warns Noah that he is refusing a direct order from a superior. Since Noah will not comply, Alan proposes settling the matter during the upcoming exam. Noah begins to object, saying his students will not be fighting during the exam, but Alan cuts him off and clarifies that it will not be a fight, but a competition. Alan lays out the terms. Strength determines who is right. Whichever student kills more slashers during the exam will be declared the victor. If Edward wins, Noah's student will apologize. Noah considers this briefly, then agrees, but only if the terms change. If Isabel wins, Alan must give her a greater rune from his collection. Alan initially dismisses the idea as excessive, but Edward arrogantly escalates the wager, proposing 3 greater runes and mocking Isabel as scum. Alan immediately shuts him down with fury and forces him into silence. After a moment of consideration, Alan agrees to the original counteroffer. If Noah's student somehow wins, Alan will provide 1 greater rune. They shake hands, sealing the agreement. As Alan and Edward walk away, Alan strikes Edward on the head in reprimand. Watching them go, Noah reflects that the encounter went far better than expected and is confident that Isabel will utterly dominate Edward. Nearby, Magus Moxie relaxes, a faint smile crossing her face as the confrontation ends. She turns to leave, but Noah notices her and calls out. She stops and acknowledges him. Noah asks why she came all this way and whether she is working with them. Moxie laughs, dismissing the idea entirely. She admits she had hoped to see Noah get beaten badly, as it would have brightened her week. He then bids him luck on the exam and walks away. Noah watches her go, utterly baffled by her behavior. That night, silence settles over the building where Noah lives. Under the full moon, he tosses and turns in his bed, half-dressed and restless. Sweat pours from him as he slips into a nightmare. Flames spark across the bed, smoke rising as the fire spreads. The room ignites completely, yet Noah remains trapped in sleep. The image of the Hellreaver's flaming eyes sears through his mind, jolting him awake. Still sitting on the bed, he presses his palm to his face, breathing hard, huff after huff. As the hallucination lingers, sharp and invasive, he realizes the visions are not fading the way they should. He stares ahead, lost in thought, suspecting that the damage to his soul may have created a link between himself and the Hellreaver. The realization sickens him, and he swears that once the exam is over, he will hunt the creature down and kill it. Next day, Noah flies over the city on his battered flying sword, feeling momentarily proud that he is finally improving. Seconds later, he crashes headlong into a tree in the scorched acres. He groans as he pulls himself up, blood trickling from his nose, muttering that perhaps he spoke too soon. Behind the tree, the face stealer emerges, chuckling that at least no one saw the landing. Noah snaps at it to stop talking and orders it to change bodies, insisting that anything would be better than watching it puppet his corpse around. He tosses a bag of clothes toward it. The face stealer catches the bag and bristles at the accusation, insisting it is not puppeteering anything. It explains that it spent weeks consuming Noah's body and memorizing every detail so it could recreate it perfectly. Noah pauses, then admits that somehow makes him feel better, though he does not understand why. As the face stealer disappears behind the tree to change, it complains about the clothes Noah picked. Noah tells it to stop being picky and admits he would rather not think about why Vermil owned them in the first place. Privately, Noah finds himself unsettled. This creature is far more articulate and aware than any face stealer should be. The face stealer asks what kind of body Noah wants it to take. Noah shrugs, saying anything reasonable will do. As he struggles to pry his sword free from the tree, he then asks if it has a name, explaining that he does not want to keep calling it face stealer if they are going to work together. The creature suggests tree, saying it likes trees. Noah rejects it as insufficiently human, then hesitates. Trees, leaves. He suggests like leaf. The face stealer agrees enthusiastically. It warns Noah that it will begin shifting forms and asks him to deal with any monsters that might appear, since it is vulnerable during the process. Noah agrees casually, planting his sword into the ground. A series of disturbing sounds follow. Snaps, crunches, cracks and pops echo through the clearing. Noah stiffens, recognizing that the noises are not good. A silhouette steps out from behind the tree. A woman's shape emerges, red-haired and unfamiliar. The face stealer stretches and remarks on how good it feels, complaining about how uncomfortable Noah's body had been. Noah stares, stunned beyond words. barely managing to mutter a response. The face dealer, now fully transformed into a short-haired, red-headed woman, smiles brightly and asks what he thinks.